You heard? He need to go get his shit together, get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard? Especially for playing with me.
Welcome back. Harlem's blazing again, and this time, the fire's all about Mace, Cameron, and Jim Jones. The internet's in meltdown mode, with fans calling this the most ruthless Harlem takedown of the year. It all started when Jim got a little too slick in a recent interview, throwing shade like it was nothing, and saying Mace and Cam weren't doing numbers anymore, that their moment had passed. Big mistake. That kind of talk cuts deep when you're all from the same Harlem blocks that raised you. See, Mace and Cam, they don't just let disrespect slide, especially when it comes from one of their own. So instead of posting subliminals, they did what real Harlem legends do. Handled it live, on their own turf, on It Is What It Is, in front of a hyped up crowd, and wow, it got ugly fast. At first, everything felt light, Cam cracking jokes, Maze doing that smooth, calm preacher talk, but the second Jim's name dropped, the whole vibe flipped. Cam leaned in, eyes locked, voice sharp, and said,
"I was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan, nigga. A fan. So you can sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you got to keep saying, I'm from Harlem? From Harlem, know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem. Yeah, listen, man, listen. You were fanned out and you begged niggas to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Mace taught me how to rap.
You say it. We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made diplomats. Yeah, you ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. That's how you got down originally. Period. I heard the new shit you did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house? So yeah, I would bring some business over there sometime. Little back man.
Yo, Jim been talking reckless lately, right? The room froze. You could feel the air tighten. Then Mace hit back with that cold grin. Yeah, I heard he forgot who taught him this. Boom, classic Harlem talk. The crowd lost it, laughter mixing with gasps. That mix of tension and swagger only Harlem can pull off. And then Mace went for the jugular. He started laying out history like receipts, saying Jim been out here rewriting Harlem's legacy like he built something that was already there. He said, when I was on tour with Biggie, Jim was still trying to get on the guest list. That line sent shockwaves through the room, people screaming, laughing, and clutching their phones like they just saw a ghost. Cam wasn't about to stay quiet either. He jumped in and roasted Jim like it was comedy night uptown.
They put hands on you and you get to altercation, you cool with them. You tried to chase French Montana out the game, that ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot, pardon me, not his video shoot, his movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissed and you gotta eat it, just sitting in the crowd. Nah, they dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro. Every nigga that do something to put pressure on you, you sit there and work it out. But when they got a little genuine heart for you and all that, cool, that's the pattern. If they don't put hands on you, then you can keep going on and on and on. But the niggas who do this, you cool with, and then you try to handle it sophisticatedly, you keep going on and on like niggas give a f about all that shit, bro. So don't care about none of that shit, man. Don't care a little bit, man. What I'll finish with is this, man. I'm never here to downplay your character. As much as you try to degrade my character for years and push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that, and you started Pink and you made the Diplomats, which is just... Do you ever hear me talk about when you ran on me when BMF pulled up? When you ran in the hotel, they chased you to the beach. They chased you to the beach, you was in the sand. You was getting wet from the water, from the ocean. I don't pump that. I don't pump all that shit because I ain't trying to make the great your character. You know why? Because the revolution was televised. That's why I'm here. That's why God worked like that. That's why me and Murder is here. The revolution was televised.
Every few years, he said, Jim reinvent himself like an IG influencer. 1 year a rapper, next a podcaster, then suddenly a real estate mogul. Pick a lane, bro. The crowd went wild. Harlem chaos, pure and unfiltered. This wasn't just a diss, it was a statement. The crowd lost its mind. It was pure Harlem mayhem. Even the camera crew couldn't hold it together, cracking up behind the lenses. Fans online were eating it up, saying Mace and Cam bodied Jim without even dropping a single curse word. But then, out of nowhere, Mace switched the energy and his tone got cold, sharp, personal. He said Jim been carrying bitterness ever since Dipset crumbled, blaming everybody but himself. He reminded everyone what real Harlem heads already knew. Jim was never the front man. That spotlight was always Cam's lane, and no matter how many singles or designer fits Jim rocked, that fact never changed. Then Mace hit him with that line that shook the whole room. Now he mad we doing it again, this time without him. Boom, the crowd exploded. Since linking up for It Is What It Is, Mace and Cam have been unstoppable. Viral every week, major guests, insane views. Meanwhile, Jim's been throwing slick shots from the sidelines, trying to keep up with a wave he once rode. But that episode wasn't just content, it was Harlem history in motion. Once the clip dropped, the internet went ballistic. Fans flooded the comments calling it a Harlem history lesson and saying Jim just got humbled in 4K. One comment read, "Jim been talking too much. He forgot who raised him." Another said, "Cam and Maze just dragged him straight back to 2002.
It gets kind of crazy with the lies. The lies be going crazy on the internet.
I mean, well, the lies start from a narrative, and the narrative starts from a person, and you just got to look at it like that. But I've never been one in my life to care about clearing up no rumors. Like that just takes time out of my day for making money. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I stand 10 toes down on everything I believe in. I don't change my pivot, and everybody knows that. I mean, as you can see, I would not be here if I did anything else but be me.
I was at Jim album release party, and everybody was over there with Jim, and Cam is standing over here with like 3 or 4 people just looking on and couldn't believe that Jim is the guy. There's no Dipset without Jim. Jim is the gangbanger of the crew. Cam is not a blood. I don't even know if Jewels was. I doubt Freaky was, right? But the set, it comes from the gang shit. Right? All the gang all ran under Jim.
Right.
All of the muscle was Jim. That wasn't Cam. You know what I'm saying?
Cam was like the Jay-Z.
Cam was the artist. Jim and Cam were partners, so to speak. But Jim took the role of being the underboss, the muscle, to make sure that Cam could function and move around and not have a bad reputation, or you be getting robbed and all this other stuff. So Jim put he stood front line for anything in regards to Cam, and then he put Dipset in front of Cam.
Cam and Jim history go back before me. You understand what I'm saying? When I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. So I honestly don't really know Jim being from the Bronx and all that. You know what I'm saying? When I met them, they was in 5H, which is, you know what I'm saying, Jim's apartment, and that's, you know, like, I guess that time was after all the stuff Cam had said already with the Children of the Corn and Jim, you know, whatever he said, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, when I got there, Cam and Jim was like this, super tight. Mace wasn't even in the picture. I don't know Mace like that. You know what I'm saying? Every time I seen Mace, it's been a mutual, you know what I'm saying, respect there. So, you know, that's what that's been as far as me and Mace. You know what I'm saying? As far as, yeah, when I met Cam and Jim, they were already Trump tight and locked in. You understand what I'm saying? The Diplomats was already a name they had. You know what I'm saying? I don't sit there and claim I made the dip, so that's not something I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I made Dipset though, the two. Yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying?
The chaos online was unreal. TikTok, X, Instagram, even the gossip blogs all jumped in, turning that roast into a full-blown cultural event. Of course, Jim saw it too, and you could tell he was heated. He hopped on IG Live that same night, trying to laugh it off, saying, "I don't got no beef with them dudes." They just old heads mad cause they not outside no more. But fans weren't buying that act for a second. The comment section turned savage. People saying he looked frustrated, kept repeating himself, and was trying too hard to seem cool while clearly losing his composure. One fan nailed it perfectly. You can't out-talk Cam and Maze. They do this for a living, and that's facts. Those two mastered the Harlem art of mixing comedy, truth, and swagger like nobody else in the game. But what really gave the whole thing depth was the history behind it, because this wasn't just internet drama. This was decades of Harlem pride colliding. See, this goes back to the 90s, when Harlem was overflowing with talent. Mace and Cam were part of Big L's legendary crew, Children of the Corn, before Mace linked with Diddy and became a bad boy superstar. Jim came into the picture later with Dipset, and for a while the chemistry was magic. Hit after hit, world tours, Harlem shining again. But fame, money, and ego, they'll test any crew, and over time, that brotherhood cracked. What once felt like family slowly turned into a cold war. So when Jim decided to come for Mace and Cam, it wasn't just a new feud, it was old Harlem pride reigniting. Mace knew exactly where to strike, calling Jim out for acting self-made while standing on someone else's foundation. You can't call yourself the king of Harlem when you learned the game from the real ones. And that line? That one hit harder than any punchline, straight to the heart of Harlem legacy. The crowd went absolutely insane. That line hit the culture like a thunderclap. Fans were saying Mace was just speaking raw truth. Let's be real, Mace and Cam had already stamped themselves as Harlem royalty long before Jim even found his voice. By the next morning, every major hip-hop page had the same headline plastered across their feed. Mace and Cam Cook Jim Jones live on air. Some even said it was career-ending. No amount of PR cleanup could wash off that burn. Desperate to save face, Jim tried firing back by posting old Dipset photos, trying to prove he'd been part of the foundation since day one, but fans weren't buying it at all. They flooded his comments clowning him, saying he looked like the forgotten cousin in every pic. Then Jim doubled down, posting captions like, "Real ones know the truth." But Mace wasn't letting that slide. He came back smooth but savage on the very next It Is What It Is episode. He looked straight into the camera and said, "Bro, pictures don't equal presence." You can't post your way back to relevance. The audience went crazy. That was surgical precision. Then came the knockout punch. Mace leaned forward with that preacher-like calm and dropped the line that broke the internet. "You can't win an argument with me. I'm the one who taught you how to rap pretty and talk slick." Boom, another viral moment locked in history. Cam couldn't stay quiet either. He jumped in laughing but deadly serious underneath it all. "Jim always act like he discovered himself," he said. "But we gave him the glow up. We gave him the wave. We even gave him the confidence." Then he flipped and started acting like we the ones chasing him. The audience erupted, a pure chaos Harlem style. It felt like years of unspoken tension finally got aired out for the world to see. Harlem pride was on full display. Loud, flashy, and unapologetic. Even people who'd never picked sides before started chiming in. Rappers, influencers, comedians, everyone reposting clips and calling it the most respectful destruction ever. And they were right, not because Mace and Cam didn't come from hate, they came from truth. This wasn't pettiness, it was legacy talk, a reminder of who the real pillars of Harlem culture are. But what really cut deep for Jim wasn't just the words, it was the power behind them. Mace and Cam owned the stage, the platform, and the people's attention. Every time they talk, the culture stops to listen, but every time Jim posts, it feels like he's chasing a moment that already passed. Fans started saying it out loud, the Harlem hierarchy just shifted. And the painful part? They weren't wrong. Jim went from front and center to sliding down that Harlem ladder, while Mace and Cam stood tall, running the city once again. By the end of the week, the internet had turned it into a circus. Memes flooded every feed, people calling it Jim Jones versus the podcasters, and joking that Mace just baptized Jim with jokes. Others were ruthless, saying Jim needs to go back to the booth cause the internet clearly ain't his arena. Trying to save face, Jim dropped a freestyle a few days later, but it flopped hard. The numbers barely moved and fans weren't feeling it. You can't rap your way out of humiliation when your name's trending for all the wrong reasons. When the smoke finally cleared, one thing was obvious. Mace and Cam won this round, and they did it with straight Harlem class. They didn't yell, didn't threaten, they used humor, facts, and that smooth Harlem finesse to break down Jim's ego live on camera. Fans said it best. They buried him with smiles. Even people outside the hip-hop scene started watching, calling it a masterclass in calm destruction. But underneath all the laughs was a deeper message. This wasn't about clout, it was about legacy. Mace and Cam spent decades shaping Harlem's identity, the music, the culture, the entire vibe, while Jim spent years chasing trends and validation. That's why this one stung different. It wasn't just a clapback, it was a reality check. In Harlem, respect isn't something you buy, it's something you earn. And when your own people say you fell off, that sting doesn't fade easy. Then Mace closed the show with a line that froze the whole room. I don't hate Jim, I just hate revisionists. If you was there, tell the truth. If you wasn't, stop lying like you built the building. The internet went spinning off that bar, like memes, quotes, captions everywhere. It wasn't petty, it was poetic truth, delivered sharp and smooth. Cam just nodded and said, "That's why we legends. We don't need no gimmicks." The crowd exploded, and the kind of applause that felt like Harlem itself stood up and clapped. Since then, Jim's been silent. No lives, no interviews, no diss tracks, just silence. Some say he's regrouping, others say he finally realized there's no comeback once the truth's been spoken that loud. Because let's be real, when you get publicly reminded who built the very foundation you stand on, that hits deeper than any diss record. This whole saga exposed the real divide between icons and imitators. Mace and Cam built legacies that stand tall decades later, brick by brick, verse by verse. Jim, though, he built moments, flashes that faded just as quick as they came. It Is What It Is didn't just entertain, it proved something. No beats, no hooks, no diss tracks, just a mic, a laugh, and cold, unfiltered Harlem truth. Mace and Cam didn't need drama. Their words alone shifted the entire conversation. Jim can act unbothered all he wants, but Harlem saw it. The internet saw it. Everybody saw it. Mace and Cam didn't just roast him, they rearranged the hierarchy. That's the kind of humiliation no PR team, no flashy chain, no slick freestyle can fix. Because when Harlem legends speak, the whole world listens. And this time the message was crystal clear. Legacy outlasts everything. Even pride. Now, weeks later, the echo of that Harlem showdown still hasn't died down. It's everywhere. Podcasts, reaction channels, and gossip blogs are still replaying clips like it just happened. Every headline keeps circling back to the same point. Mace and Cam didn't just roast Jim, they reclaimed Harlem's crown. Even insiders started talking. People close to Dipset began whispering that Jim took the hit personally, that the silence isn't peace, it's pressure. Some even said he's been calling around behind the scenes, trying to rebuild his image, maybe even plotting his next move. But the problem is, you can't outplan authenticity. Mace and Cam didn't need to strategize. They are the strategy. They've been Harlem's blueprint for 2 decades, while Jim's still trying to rewrite the manual. Fans online started saying it loud. You can't rewrite Harlem history when the authors are still alive. That line started trending by itself. See, the thing that made this clash so powerful wasn't just the jokes. It was the symbolism. It was Harlem versus Harlem, legacy versus image, the teachers versus the student who forgot the lesson. It reminded everyone what made Harlem different. Sharp minds, sharper tongues, and loyalty that used to mean everything. But when that loyalty breaks, the whole city feels it, because Harlem beefs ain't just about music, they're about identity, and that's why this one hit deeper than most. Jim didn't just lose an argument, he lost the narrative. Meanwhile, Mace and Cam keep stacking wins. Their show's bigger than ever, the chemistry sharper, the views insane. Every episode now has fans waiting for that next Harlem moment, that mix of truth and comedy nobody else can deliver. It's like they turned their entire legacy into a live performance. And people can't get enough. Industry folks are even saying what everyone's thinking. It Is What It Is isn't just a podcast anymore, it's Harlem's main stage. Every joke they crack, every story they tell feels like another page of Harlem history being written in real time. And what about Jim? That's where things get tricky, because the longer he stays quiet, the more control he loses. In hip-hop, silence can be powerful, but when you're the one being called out, silence looks like surrender, and fans are noticing. They're saying Jim built his name on loud talk and outside energy, but when it's time to defend it, he's nowhere to be found. That kind of narrative can break an artist's image, not because he's weak, but because perception is the game now. And right now, the perception is ugly. Jim looks like the guy who got outplayed by his own mentors. And in Harlem, that's the kind of stain that don't wash off easy. Still, there's a twist. Some folks close to the situation believe Jim's silence might be calculated. They say he's waiting for the hype to die before dropping something unexpected. Maybe a documentary, maybe a sit-down interview, something big enough to flip the energy. But can he really flip it? That's the million-dollar question. Because this isn't just about clout anymore. It's about credibility. Harlem's watching, the industry's watching, and so far only one side's still commanding the spotlight. Mace and Cam turned a casual jab into a cultural statement. They reminded the game that real legacy doesn't fade, it just updates. And whether people love or hate them, one thing's clear: Harlem listens when they speak. The truth is, Jim Jones might bounce back. He's done it before, but after this kind of public humbling, he's not just fighting for fans, he's fighting for respect. Because once Harlem questions your spot, you don't get to talk your way back into it. You gotta earn it all over again. And right now, the streets are saying Maze and Cam hold the keys. Now here's where it gets even wilder: the ripple effect. That one Harlem clash didn't just stay in Harlem, it spread through the entire industry like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone's talking about old school integrity versus new school validation. Legends, journalists, even rival rappers started picking sides. Some said Jim's just misunderstood, a hustler trying to stay relevant in a digital era. Others argued he lost himself chasing trends that didn't fit his roots. And that's the truth nobody wants to admit. Jim's always been fighting two versions of himself: the Harlem street boss who earned his name in the trenches, and the celebrity version chasing algorithms, sponsorships, and social media approval. Mace and Cam just held up the mirror, and the reflection wasn't pretty. You could see it in how fans reacted online. They weren't just laughing, they were analyzing. Threads popped up breaking down Dipset history, comparing the early days to now, showing how the energy shifted when Mace and Cam left the picture. It was like a cultural investigation, Harlem edition. One tweet went viral saying, "Cam and Mace showed us what maturity in hip-hop looks like. They didn't yell, they educated." That post hit millions of views. What makes it even deeper is that this moment wasn't about tearing someone down. It was about reminding everyone what Harlem used to represent: confidence with class, hustle with purpose. And Mace, whether people love or hate him, made it clear he's still the voice of Harlem discipline. Meanwhile, Jim's camp tried to keep things low-key, but insiders say he's been frustrated behind the scenes. One source claimed he's been venting privately, saying the whole situation got blown out of proportion, that Mace and Cam used the moment for clicks. But that just made fans laugh even harder, because Mace and Cam don't need clicks. They create them. The funny part, the more Jim tried to downplay it, the more people started rewatching those clips. Every repost brought the same reaction: shock, laughter, and respect for how effortlessly Mace and Cam handled the whole thing. They didn't break character once. They didn't scream, they didn't threaten, they just talked like Harlem elders giving a public reality check wrapped in comedy gold. By now, the debate's turned into something much bigger than beef. It's about legacy, pride, and the way hip-hop handles its own history. Because when the new generation watches this, they're not just seeing drama, they're seeing education in motion. It's Harlem teaching Harlem again. Even OGs from other boroughs have spoken up. Brooklyn rappers saying Harlem finally took the mic back. Bronx legends saying this is what grown man rap energy looks like. The respect is loud, and that's something money can't buy. But for Jim, this might be the hardest chapter of his career yet. He's built off resilience before, bouncing back after setbacks, beefs, and fades. But this one feels different, because this wasn't outsiders tearing him down. It was his own people, the same ones who helped write his story. And that's why the silence hurts him the most. Harlem's always been about pride, but pride without acknowledgement turns into isolation. Fans are saying Jim's biggest battle now isn't against Mace or Cam, it's against his ego. And honestly, they might be right, because at this point, every bar, every post, every move he makes will be seen through one lens, authentic or not. And when the city that built you starts questioning your authenticity, you can't just drop a song to fix it. You gotta live it. So as it stands, the saga's far from over. The streets are whispering, the fans are watching, and Harlem's waiting to see if Jim Jones can bounce back the Harlem way with class, clarity, and truth. Because one thing's for sure, Mace and Cam just reminded everyone that Harlem doesn't forget. It just waits for you to catch up. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Well, a lot of, me from the hood, so people look at Bleak and don't understand the business he's doing, and they always look at Jay like, oh, yeah.
But that's why, that's why you got like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of I don't need Jay to go on tour.
Yo, smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill. Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of, nigga. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene, nigga. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something, yo.
You do need
you
that
might
help.
need
That's
2
why,
ounces, nigga.
That's why
Pay the full movie, nigga. I got a G for every bump in your face, nigga. I promise you that, nigga.
I seen something Tay on the Yayo said, Hov don't look out for me like 50 look out for him.
Oh, where he said that?
I just want to clear that up. Hov don't have to.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right. Okay.
I'm chewing aloud on my own.
Right.
If Hov look out, I'm telling you, I'll be up there.
Right.
So when y'all see me out here, that's the Blizzle budget. But back to you, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I just want to let niggas know Hov don't have to.
So,
Welcome back. Jim Jones just snapped. And when I say snapped, I mean really lost it, going off on Tony Yayo right in the middle of Memphis Bleek's own podcast. What's wild is that Bleek doesn't even rock with Yayo like that either, so the whole thing felt explosive from the jump. People are asking, why's Bleek got issues with Yayo, and why did Jim decide to crash out like that in front of everyone? Stick around, cause this story gets heated real quick. Let's start with Memphis Bleek. His side is way easier to unpack. Bleek's been tight with Jay-Z since forever, basically like his younger brother.
Well, a lot of, me from the hood, so people look at Bleak and don't understand the business he's doing, and they always look at Jay like, oh,
Yeah.
But
That's why, that's why you got like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of I don't need Jay to go on tour.
Yo, smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill. Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of, nigga. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene, nigga. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something, yo.
You do need that
might
help.
need
That's
2
why,
ounces, nigga.
That's why
Pay the full movie, nigga. I got a G for every bump in your face, nigga. I promise you that, nigga.
That's
I
a
promise
fact.
you that, nigga.
That's why he worrying about
Peon, you broke, nigga. You know
See?
I got it, nigga. What's
Don't-
up? The
ain't
bag
nobody-
is up. The bolsa.
Hey, yo.
Hey, Flea, where the bolsa at, Flea?
Let me finish that off. Ain't nobody taking care of over here, B. Yo, nah, you good, my nigga. I fucking love it. They deserve it. They need to hear this shit, man, because they bugging out here. All these niggas worrying about who taking care of who. We take care of we. Ain't no who
nigga.
take care of who, nigga. You know who doing it. We live.
Us,
We getting
the
money.
gang, nigga. We take
You
care
feel
of
me?
everybody, nigga. We take care of each other, nigga.
That's a fact, my G. But linking back up with you, Jim, we missed out on a lot
this
of
is dope. opportunity,
bro. But we ain't gonna miss it out going forward.
Nah,
we need to
man.
put some pain together,
Time
bro.
don't-
But Tony Yayo, man, he's been throwing shade at Hav for years. Yayo's the type to keep a grudge, and one of his biggest was claiming Jay tried to block 50 Cent from performing at the Super Bowl halftime show. He said that on record and clearly never let it go. So when Yayo sat down with Shannon Sharp, he didn't hold back at all. He straight up called Jay-Z a hater, saying he never helps nobody win and don't put people on. Then he fired a slick shot at Bleek too, saying, "Look at Memphis Bleek. He not shining, he not winning. Jay-Z don't take care of him like 50 take care of me." That line right there, boom, that's what set the whole thing off. Yayo kept doubling down too, bragging, "We just came back off tour, you know? Me and Fifth still touring. I do my own shows too. Canada, Germany, Switzerland. I stay working." The man was talking like he was living proof that loyalty to 50 pays better than Bleek's loyalty to Jay. But let's be real, and that 50 takes care of me more than Jay does talk?
Like I just said, we just came back off tour.
Yeah.
you know, with Fifth, and we still touring, still. And I do my own tours too for people. Be like, oh, yo.
You see,
I do my own tours. I did tours in Canada. I did a tour across the whole Germany and the Swiss Alps, and that's why I don't care about the hate, cause I'm like, I got the possibility to do my own tour, like something with Memphis Bleak. Memphis Bleak said to Nori, yo said, Jay-Z didn't have us on tour like he did, or I eat my own halal. I eat my own halal too. If you want to say that, to Memphis Bleak, I just came off my last tour. All I'm saying is when you see Jay-Z in his setting, he never really, when he's doing a Beyonce show or whatever, you don't see Memphis Bleak on the stage or him being brought out. You know, even if I'm doing the hype man shit with 50, he's bringing me out. I'm making money. I'm going to.
That's that man girl too. That's it. That's Hov's wife tour.
Yeah, that's Hov wife tour.
So if Hov, I believe if Hov was out on his own, he would bring Bleak out. There is no need for him to bring Bleak in a situation where it looked like if this was last tour you're talking about with the Cowboy Carter.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, because I look at Bleak as a loyal guy, like I'm a loyal guy to Jay. But I look at like Fifth, my guy Hervé, one day we had TRL, and it's the young Gunners there.
Yeah.
And I'm talking them out. And Hervé says loud, you don't gotta worry about nothing. You got 50. Jay-Z doesn't do nothing for these guys like 50 does. And Hervé, I think he worked with them too. But he said that to me, and that always stuck in my head. Rest in peace to him.
That's crazy. Real men handle their own grind, period. If your homie helps you out, that's love. But bragging about it like a trophy? Weird flex. Yayo's whole angle was painting Jay-Z as selfish, only out for himself. But the way it came off, it sounded like a desperate flex about who's getting taken care of. And that's a wild hill to stand on. So when Memphis Bleak hit Drink Champs, he couldn't let that one slide. He had to set the record straight. According to Bleak, there's no deep beef with Yayo, but trust me, after all that talk, it was only a matter of time before things exploded. They've crossed paths before, been in the same rooms, maybe even cooked up a few tracks together. But after Yayo's little jab, yeah, everything shifted, the vibe's off now. Not an all-out war yet, but you can feel that tension creeping in heavy.
The difference between me and other niggas, right? Stack Bundles, one of my favorite rappers in the world.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Right?
Ryan Squad.
Rest in peace.
Far Rock,
Yep.
you understand? Jim Jones, he had Stack Bundles, he had Max B. I looked at it like, wait, you know. Stack Bundles, we had a portion, was still in the hood. No disrespect to Jim Jones. Fifth had me in Battery Park. I could walk out that barefoot.
Get the
See,
socks.
that's when a nigga love you, nigga. Get the socks, nigga. Sneakers Dior, nigga. But I'm walking out there barefoot. That's when you know a nigga love you, boy. Cause he making sure you don't get your shit split. Cause you go back to 134, anywhere, Baisley, right, Brooklyn, shit get split. Once I got shit, nigga shot my shit up. Bentleys and all that. Y'all can get that sneaker, just toss that over there. My shit's official. You know what I'm saying? Yo, look, but nigga put me in position. Rest in peace of Stack, but Stack got killed in the project with a Porsche.
Yeah.
Come on, nigga, I'm from the hood, nigga. Y'all niggas thought, nigga. I done been around the Black Justice and Sheena Preems and all that, nigga. The E-Money bags, all that, nigga. The younger niggas under that.
So with everything you
Maserati Fox. Real nigga, huh?
So with everything that you saw, what would you change?
I just pray to God every time I leave the house.
But what would you change?
Change what?
Pass the cup.
I heard you talk about all the shit you went through, all the shit niggas is still going through.
What
Yeah,
God,
you need one of them cups
listen,
just for
what
the
God got
asshole.
planned for you is planned for you, brother. God already know what's planned for you in life.
God planned for you to come here and spaz on y'all niggas tonight.
I spaz?
I'm just saying it was a plan.
I mean, I do be on some Hollywood shit. Europe. I gotta stop.
Yeah.
Something like your stuff talk about Europe. I don't like when you come here. You gotta deal
Don't
with
treat
niggas.
Vlad like that, bro. See how niggas is? See how
No,
niggas
I
is,
had nothing to do with Vlad.
He ain't treat Vlad
do with
like
Europe.
this. He
I
ain't treat
do
Vlad
things
like
you have to
this,
do with
my
Europe.
nigga.
When Bleak caught wind of what was said, he was stunned, saying, I seen something? Said Hov don't look out for me like 50 look out for him? Oh, word? He said that? You could hear the disbelief in his voice. And listen, this ain't the first time Yayo's mouth stirred the pot. We all remember the old G-Unit versus Dipset chaos. 50 Cent, Cam'ron, Jim Jones, all throwing shots like it was sport. Most folks thought that era died out years ago, but nope, it's back. And this time, the smoke between Jim Jones and Tony Yayo runs way deeper than rap beef. It all reignited when Yayo went on Math Hoffa's podcast and dropped a bomb. He accused Jim Jones of leaving his own artist, Stack Bundles, behind in the hood to die. He said, "This the difference between me and these other dudes. Stack Bundles, one of my favorite rappers ever. Rest in peace, rest in squad, rest in peace, Far Rock." You understand, Jim Jones had Stack Bundles, he had Max B. I looked at it like greatness. Then he switched tone, basically saying, Jim failed to protect the people who believed in him. That hit like a bullet. According to Yayo, Jim didn't take care of Stack, and that neglect played a role in the tragedy that followed. A claim that sent shockwaves through hip-hop circles.
The problem is, when she was on the show, she had said that she had heard about you wasn't giving Stack money, but people don't know that when Stack asked you for the bread, you were going to the bank. I think the bank was closed. Something happened because me and Bino talked about it. I remember being there, and you was going to give him
more money after the money he spent because we was on tour. He like, geez, I spent all that tour money, geez, on Pop, I bug it. Whatever he did, brought another Porsche, BMW. He like, yo, Pop, geez, you said closed mouth don't get fed, geez, I'm Pop, geez, I'm hurting.
It's a fact.
And when I told him, I said, yo, go get 25 grand from the bank tomorrow. He like, oh, yo, what's up with that Wrangler truck? I'm like, I left that shit in Brooklyn. I don't even want that shit. I don't even know what block it's on. Matter of fact, it's by the car shop where I got the Maserati from. He like, you let me get that, geez. I'm like, go take it. You probably got to get a new key. He like, oh, I'm going to go get that tomorrow, geez. You different, geez. And we all know the rest of the story.
Why do you think that people have this misconception of what happened? Why do you think even her? Why do you think that? Where did that come from?
Nobody likes to hear the truth.
Because we were there. Bino get mad all the time. And he gets offended. And he was one of the people that called me. He was like, that's not true. They think that, what they think is that Stack asked you, he told you he wanted to leave. They said that Stack told you he wanted to leave, he wanted to move, and you didn't move him out. But that's not true.
You want to hear that story? All right, for Stacks and them, I was about to buy Stacks to give Max and Melly a whole brownstone in New Jersey. None of them wanted to leave the hood. And I was not about to waste my money. And that was what I offered them. I went shopping for the shit and all that type of shit.
Yeah, we remember that, like Bass. We remember that. Shout out to Bass. I remember the conversation.
And I'm like, yo, you bugging. You want to, like, you could go to the hood every day, but you're going to be living in Jersey. Like, you're going to be living better than, like, you heard? And you don't have to worry about paying for no rent or nothing like that. I'm just trying to get you niggas out the hood. Melly, too. Melly ended up getting shot, right? Like none of these would listen, and everything that happened that you know can happen in the hood end up happening and shit like that, you know what I mean? But everything to try to protect them for what I know could have happened to them, I tried. You heard? From getting all of his cars to getting all these, everything. You can imagine everything. Private jets, Miami, hundreds of thousands in one weekend, 2 tour buses at Atlanta, like, cannot front on how I had my boys moving. And I'm only talking about this because you was there, and you and Stacks were best friends, or Bino, a couple others and like that. Other than I don't even talk to people about Stacks and what went on, but we was setting it out. This was not on our level when we was moving. And no.
If you don't know who Stack Bundles was, let's pause for a second. He was one of Jim's closest allies, a rising star signed under Jim's wing. Jim took him on tour, showed him the ropes, and gave him exposure in the game. But street whispers say Jim didn't do enough when Stack needed him most, and that failure allegedly cost him his life. Stack Bundles was gunned down in his own neighborhood, and to this day, that loss still hurts the culture. Some folks say Stack never left the block, and that's where the tragedy deepened. Now, I'll be real, I've always given Jim the benefit of the doubt, because nobody truly knows what went down between them. Sometimes your people just don't listen, no matter how hard you try to help. You can hand them the blueprint, blueprint, give them the tools, even buy them the setup. But if the hunger ain't there, it's like watching someone drown in the same pool you tried to pull them out of. It's painful, man, because sometimes you want success for someone way more than they want it for themselves. That's exactly what it sounded like between Jim Jones and Stack Bundles. A friendship turned into a messy headline. People online dragged Jim, accusing him of jacking Stack's whole wave. The way he dressed, talked, moved, even down to his swagger. And honestly, they weren't exaggerating about Stack's influence. Stack Bundles wasn't just talented, he was the future. If life hadn't cut him short, he would have been front row at Paris Fashion Week next to ASAP Rocky, rocking designer fits before they even hit stores. That's how much drip and energy he had. But critics kept pushing that ugly narrative. That Jim took the sauce, ran with it, and left Stack behind. It made everything even messier. Jim, though, never backed down. He's always stood on his truth, saying none of that was real. According to him, he tried everything to pull Stack out of the hood. Gave him money, opportunities, studio time, tours, whatever he needed. Jim said, I gave him the game, but he just wouldn't leave the streets. That's what hurt him most. In his words, he never abandoned Stack. He just couldn't make him walk away from that lifestyle. Believe him or not, that's the version Jim stands by to this day. During one emotional interview, Jim snapped when Stack's name came up. The host tried to bring up what people were saying, like how somebody claimed you wasn't giving Stack money, and Jim cut in quick. He explained that when Stack needed cash, he literally went straight to the bank for him. You could tell it still cuts deep. Stack wasn't just another artist to him, that was family. Now, the details around that whole $25,000 rumor, the so-called G-Wagon situation, nobody can say for sure what's 100% true, but one thing's clear, anything tied to Stack Bundles hits Jim right in the heart. So when Tony Yayo brought that man's name into the mix, Jim took it as pure disrespect. And when Jim Jones sat down with Memphis Bleek and Yayo's name came up, oh, it got tense fast. Bleek tried to keep it chill, but Jim? He unleashed everything. He made it clear he's not starving. His people ain't starving, and he's sick of all this talk about who's got the better sugar daddy. That's exactly how he put it, loud and proud. Jim said, people know me from the hood. They look at Bleek and don't even understand the moves he's making, the businesses he's got running. Don't lie on us like that. Then Jim started flexing. Hard, talking about his cars, his homes, his investments, making it clear he's sitting comfortably while still feeding his team. But here's the crazy part. That's not even what Yayo meant in the first place. Tony never said Jim was broke. In fact, he gave Jim props. His point was that Jim looks good, but his people don't. And that's where the whole misunderstanding turned into a firestorm. Because when pride gets mixed with pain and the streets start talking, even the smallest spark can set off a whole blaze. Yayo's point was simple. Jim's people don't look like they're up. They don't seem on, they don't seem fed. And honestly, if Jim had focused on that part instead of turning it into a money flex, the whole situation might have hit way different. Maybe, just maybe, this whole thing wouldn't have exploded like it did. But Jim wasn't hearing none of that. The moment Yayo's name came up, that pride kicked in strong. You could see it in his face. He was locked in defense mode, ready for war. Jim felt like Yayo tried to clown him in public. And one thing about Jim, he don't play about his name or his crew. The second he spoke, the tone changed. He fired back hard, saying, "Ain't nobody feeding me? I built this from the ground up." He wanted everyone to know he's not living off anybody's plate. Not Jay-Z's, not 50's, not a single soul's. That's when the tension spiked for real. Instead of brushing it off or laughing it away, Jim doubled down. He started throwing shade right back, calling Yayo out for always being under 50 Cent's shadow. He said, "The things y'all dudes do, I don't do. Y'all go across the street, I go the other way. Holler at your boy, I move different." You could feel the heat behind those words. Years of bottled up comparisons, quiet disrespect, and people questioning how he moves were all boiling over in real time. This wasn't just another rap back and forth. It was pride versus perception. Jim had been hearing the same talk for years, that he doesn't take care of his people, that he's not as loyal as he claims, that he's fallen off. And in that moment, he'd had enough. He made it loud and clear he wasn't backing down. Not from Tony, not from 50, not from anybody. Jim kept talking big money, flexing about his cars, his deals, his lifestyle. But here's the thing, that wasn't the real fight. It wasn't about who's richer or who's broke. It was about respect. And Tony Yayo, he wasn't staying quiet either. He clapped back in the pettiest and most savage way possible. Instead of dropping a long response, he hit Instagram and made his move. Yayo reposted Max B, Jim Jones's longtime rival, an old friend turned enemy. Now that was a statement. Fans went wild, instantly splitting sides, half cheering Yayo for the bold play, half saying he went too far. But one thing's for sure, that single post turned a simmering feud into a full-blown social media firestorm. That Max B repost was pure chaos. The internet lost its mind the second Yayo dropped it. Fans instantly started digging up old clips, interviews, and tweets from back in the day when Jim and Max's beef was still fresh. And it reminded everybody just how deep that rivalry runs. You gotta understand, Jim and Max weren't just label mates. They were once brothers in the game. Max was part of Bird Gang, one of Jim's closest allies, and their chemistry was crazy. But when things went left, it got ugly. Max accused Jim of shady business, claiming he didn't get the money he was owed from songs he helped create. Jim fired back, saying Max was being ungrateful, and from there, it turned into one of the most toxic splits in hip-hop history. They started dissing each other in interviews, dropping subliminal lines in songs, and airing out personal drama that should have stayed behind closed doors. At one point, Max even released a diss track, straight up calling Jim a fraud in designer clothes. It was brutal. So when Tony Yayo decided to repost Max B, it wasn't just shade, it was a dagger. It was him saying, "You want to talk loyalty, Jim? Even your own brother couldn't stand beside you." That single move reignited an entire decade-old feud and dragged Jim's name back into old wounds he's been trying to bury for years. Jim saw it as a straight violation. Insiders say he was heated after that post and calling out folks close to him, asking who's been talking behind his back. He felt like Yayo crossed a sacred line, taking something deeply personal and turning it into internet ammo. The whole thing snowballed within hours. Blogs, fan pages, and hip-hop outlets were posting side-by-side comparisons, breaking down the history between Jim and Max like it was a true crime documentary. And guess what? Max B himself, still behind bars but always plugged in, apparently caught wind of the situation too. He didn't speak directly on it, but his camp allegedly reposted the same image Yayo used, just to keep the energy going. That move made it clear nobody was backing down. Meanwhile, fans were split right down the middle. Some said Yayo was just trolling, doing what G-Unit's always done, pushing buttons and making headlines. Others said it was deeper, that Yayo was trying to remind Jim that respect in this game isn't just about money, it's about how you treat people when the cameras aren't rolling. Jim, on the other hand, went live later that night and you could feel the frustration in his tone. He didn't mention names directly, but everyone knew who he was talking about. He said, "I don't need no validation from no internet gangsters." Half these dudes talking loyalty never kept it real with their own people. His comments only fueled the fire more, with fans dissecting every word like a clue in a rap mystery. At this point, it wasn't just Jim versus Yayo anymore. It had turned into a full cultural moment, with old beefs being resurrected, alliances being tested, and the streets watching every post, waiting for the next bomb to drop. By the next morning, the drama had completely taken over social media. Hip-hop blogs, gossip pages, and even verified rappers were weighing in like it was a heavyweight fight. Comment sections were exploding, half defending Jim, half riding with Yayo. The captions were wild. Yayo brings Max B back from the digital grave just to taunt Jim, and Jones ain't letting this one slide. It was pure chaos. But here's the twist. Instead of staying quiet, Jim Jones fired back in classic Jim fashion. He jumped on Instagram Live again, pacing back and forth with his chain swinging, eyes burning with frustration. He said, "Y'all got me twisted if you think I ever needed another man to feed me. I'm my own boss. My team eats, cause I made sure they eat." His voice was tight, like he was trying to hold back snapping for real. Then he took it one step further. Jim started throwing subtle shots, saying some people been in the game 20 years and still living off another man's cosign. Fans instantly knew who that was aimed at. The comments lit up. He talking about Yayo. He just cooked him alive. 50 better step in before this gets nasty. And that's exactly what people were waiting for, a response from 50 Cent himself. Because whenever Tony Yayo gets into something, 50's name always gets dragged right into the middle. But instead of defending his right-hand man, 50 played it smart. He posted a cryptic meme, a picture of a man sitting back eating popcorn with the caption, "Y'all enjoy the show." The man basically poured gasoline on the fire and walked away laughing. Meanwhile, Yayo didn't stay silent either. A few hours later, he dropped another bomb, a slick video clip of himself driving with "Baby Don't Cry, Keep Ya Head Up" by Tupac blasting in the background. No captions, no tags, just pure energy. Fans interpreted it as a jab at Jim, like Yayo was saying, "You emotional bro, calm down." That video alone had the comment section going insane, at over 200,000 views in less than a day. Insiders close to Jim claim he was furious. He felt like Yayo wasn't just disrespecting him, he was trying to humiliate him in front of the whole world. One source said Jim was calling around trying to set the record straight, saying, "I don't do online beefs. I see people in person." That line alone got reposted everywhere. By this point, it wasn't even about the original argument. It had turned into a full-on pride battle. Fans started posting edits comparing Yayo's loyalty to 50 with Jim's loyalty to his Bird Gang crew, making it a loyalty war. And as if things couldn't get messier, people started tagging Max B's name under every post, turning him into an unintentional centerpiece in a feud he didn't even start this time. What began as one shady podcast comment had now grown into one of the most talked about internet beefs of the year. Jim wasn't backing down, Yayo was loving the chaos and the rest of the industry. They were sitting back watching two OGs burn the internet up for free entertainment. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get any wilder, boom, Jim Jones dropped a bomb of his own. Late that night, he went live again, this time with a full entourage behind him. Champagne bottles popping, stacks of cash spread on the table, and the music blasting in the background. You could tell he wasn't there to talk, he was there to send a message. Jim looked straight into the camera and said, "I've been solid since day one. Ain't no rapper, no blog, no clown online ever gonna tell my story for me. They talk about loyalty, but they forget who built this from nothing. I put my city on, I put my brothers on, and I'm still here while they talk from the sidelines." Every word came out sharp, like he was cutting through years of bottled up anger. But right in the middle of that live, fans noticed something. He dropped a subtle jab that made the internet explode. He said, "Some of y'all only pop out when another man lets you. That ain't real boss energy, that's permission energy." Boom! Everyone instantly knew he was talking about Tony Yayo again, implying Yayo only moves when 50 Cent gives the green light. The comments were on fire, people typing, "Jim violating," and "he throwing missiles now." But then Jim switched gears. He started talking about Max B, and that's where things turned emotional. He said, "Max was my brother, and I'll never speak bad on that man again. But stop using his name like it's a meme. That was real pain. That was family." The room got quiet for a moment. It was the first time in the whole feud where you could see a bit of vulnerability from Jim. For a second, it didn't feel like flexing. It felt like closure, trying to break through anger. Still, the peace didn't last long. Within hours, Tony Yayo clapped back again, not with a live this time, but with receipts. He posted a series of old throwback photos from the G-Unit days, writing, "We did world tours when y'all was still waiting for your labels to call back." That line hit hard. Fans started comparing their careers side by side. Who sold more records? Who had bigger hits? Who stayed more relevant? Suddenly, this wasn't just street talk. It had turned into a full rap resume war. Then came the biggest curveball. Reports started surfacing that 50 Cent might actually address it on his next podcast appearance. Word spread fast that 50 was planning to clear the air, and that's when everyone started paying closer attention. Because if there's one thing 50 loves, it's stirring the pot while keeping his own name buzzing. By sunrise, this beef wasn't just two rappers arguing, but it had become the conversation across hip-hop. Every blog, every live stream, every fan page was dissecting every word, every post, every shade emoji. Jim and Yayo had officially turned what started as one petty comment into a full-blown cultural moment. The kind that keeps the internet awake all night waiting for the next move. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Everything. You can imagine everything. Private jets, Miami, hundreds of thousands in one weekend, 2 tour buses, Atlanta. Like, cannot front on how I had my boys moving. And I'm only talking about this because you was there.
Oh, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you out or something, yo.
Welcome back, gang. Jim Jones absolutely lost it. I'm full meltdown mode right there on Memphis Bleek's podcast. And the wild part, Bleek don't even rock with Tony Yayo like that. So why did everything blow up so fast? Let's break it down, cause this one turned into chaos real quick. See, Bleek's been Jay-Z's ride or die since day one. Like Lil Bro status for real.
Well, a lot of, me from the hood, so people look at Bleek and don't understand the business he's doing. They always look at Jay like, oh,
yeah. That's why you got like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of I don't need Jay to go on tour.
You'll smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something, yo.
You do need
You
that
might
help.
need
That's
2
why-
ounces, nigga.
That's why
Paid
you
in full
looking to
movie,
see-
nigga. I got a G for every bump in your face, nigga. I promise you that, nigga.
That's
I
a
promise
fact.
you that, nigga.
That's why he worried about
Peon, you broke, nigga. You know
See?
I got it, nigga. What's
Don't-
up? The
Ain't
bag
nobody-
is up. The bonsai.
Hey, yo.
Hey, Flea, where the bonsai at, Flea?
Let me finish that off. Ain't nobody taking care of over here, B. Yo, nah, you good, my nigga. I fucking love it. They deserve it. They need to hear this shit, man, because they bugging out here. All these niggas worrying about who taking care of who. We take care of we. Ain't no
100%,
who
nigga.
take care of who, nigga. You know who doing it. We live.
Us,
We getting
the
money.
gangway, nigga. We take
You
care
feel
of
me?
everybody, nigga. We take care of each other, nigga.
That's a
You heard?
fact, my G. But linking back up with you, Jim, we missed out on a lot
this
of
is dope.
opportunity, bro. But we ain't gonna miss it out going forward.
Nah,
we need to
man.
put some pain together, bro.
Meanwhile, Yayo been sneak dissing Hav for years, claiming Jade tried blocking 50 Cent from that Super Bowl halftime stage. He never let that grudge go, not for a second. Then Yayo took it further on Shannon Sharp's show. Pure disrespect. He called Jay-Z a hater, said he never helps nobody, and doesn't lift up his people. But the real hit came when he threw shade at Bleek, saying, look at Memphis Bleek, he not shining. Jay-Z don't take care of him, 50 takes care of me. That line exploded across the internet like dynamite. Like seriously, are we bragging about which grown man spoils you more? That's crazy. Nobody should be flexing about living off another man's check, because when that check stops, so does your lifestyle. Real loyalty ain't about who feeds you, it's about who teaches you to stand tall on your own 2 feet. Yayo tried to spin it, acting like Jay's the selfish one, but honestly, it came off like pure salt.
Between me and other niggas, right? Stack Bundles, one of my favorite rappers in the world.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Right?
Brian
And-
Squad.
Rest in peace.
Far Rock.
Yep.
You understand? Jim Jones, he had Stack Bundles, he had Max B. I looked at it like, wait, Stack Bundles, we had a portion, was still in the hood. No disrespect to Jim Jones. Fifth had me in Battery Park. I could walk out that barefoot. I look at the socks and look at it.
Get the
See,
socks.
that's when a nigga love you, nigga. You get the socks, nigga. Sneakers Dior, nigga. But I'm walking out there barefoot. That's when you know a nigga love you, boy. Because he making sure you don't get your shit split. Because you go back to 134, anywhere, Baisley, right, Brooklyn, phew, shit get split. Once I got shit, nigga shot my shit up. Bentleys and all that. Y'all can get that sneaker, just toss that over there. My shit's official. You know what I'm saying? Yo, look, but nigga put me in position. Rest in peace of Stack, but Stack got killed in the project with a Porsche.
Yeah.
Nigga, come on, nigga, I'm from the hood, nigga. Y'all niggas thought, nigga. I done been around the Black Justice and seen the Preems and all that, nigga. The E-Money bags, all that, nigga. The younger niggas under that.
So with everything you
Maserati, Fox, real nigga. Huh?
So with everything that you saw, what would you change?
I just pray to God every time I leave the house.
But what would you change?
Change what?
Pass the cup. I heard you talk about all the shit you went through, all the shit niggas is still going through.
What God got planned for you is planned for you, brother. God already know what's planned for you in life.
God planned for you to come here and spaz on y'all niggas tonight.
I spaz?
I'm just saying, it was a plan.
I mean, I do be on some Hollywood shit. It was in Europe. I gotta stop. Something like, yo, stop talking about Europe. I don't, like, when you come here, you gotta deal with niggas.
Don't treat Vlad like that, bro. See how niggas is? See how niggas is,
nothing with Vlad.
He ain't treat Vlad like this. He ain't treat Vlad.
He was sitting there, proud to say he's on 50's payroll as if that's something to celebrate. That's not street code, and that's crash dummy energy. Real men build their circle up, not brag about who's filling their plate like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. So when Bleak hit Drink Champs, he wasn't letting that slide. Not even a little. He clapped back smooth but sharp with that calm tone that still cuts deep. He said there was never any real smoke with Yayo before. They crossed paths maybe once or twice. But after that diss, the energy changed fast. You could feel it. Not war, but definitely tension in the air. Bleak didn't even have to say, "Forget Tony Yayo." You could hear it in his voice. That shade was crystal clear, but here's where it really caught fire. Tony Yayo, known for his loudmouth style and calling out rappers who don't feed their people, took that same savage energy and aimed it somewhere new, straight at Jim Jones. And that's when the whole thing exploded. Suddenly it's G-Unit versus Dipset all over again. 50 Cent, Cameron, Jim Jones, pure chaos like the old days. Most fans thought that beef was buried long ago, but nah, it's back from the dead, hotter than ever.
The problem is, when she was on the show, she had said that she had heard about you wasn't giving Stack money, but people don't know that when Stack asked you for the bread, you were going to the bank. I think the bank was closed. Something happened because me and Bino talked about it. I remember being there, and you was going to give him
more money after the money he spent because we was on tour. He like, geez, I spent all that tour money, geez, on Pop, I bug it. Whatever he did, brought another Porsche, BMW. He like, yo, Pop, geez, you said closed mouth don't get fed, geez, I'm Pop, geez, I'm hurting.
It's a fact.
And when I told him, I said, yo, go get 25 grand from the bank tomorrow. He like, oh, yo, what's up with that Wrangler truck? I'm like, I left that shit in Brooklyn. I don't even want that shit. I don't even know what block it's on. Matter of fact, it's by the car shop where I got the Maserati from. He like, you let me get that, geez. I'm like, go take it. You probably got to get a new key. He like, oh, I'm going to go get that tomorrow, geez. You different, geez. And we all know the rest of the story.
Why do you think that people have this misconception of what happened? Why do you think even her? Why do you think that? Where did that come from?
Nobody likes to hear the truth.
Because we were there. Bino get mad all the time. And he gets offended. And he was one of the people that called me. He was like, that's not true. They think that, what they think is that Stack asked you, he told you he wanted to leave. They said that Stack told you he wanted to leave, he wanted to move, and you didn't move him out. But that's not true.
You want to hear that story? All right, for Stacks and them, I was about to buy Stacks, the kid Max and Melly, a whole brownstone in New Jersey. None of them wanted to leave the hood. And I was not about to waste my money. And that was what I offered them. I went shopping for the shit and all that type of shit.
Yeah, we remember that, right, Bass? We remember that. Shout out to Bass. I remember the conversation.
And I'm like, yo, you bugging. You want to, like, yo, you could go to the hood every day, but you're going to be living in Jersey. Like, you're going to be living better than, like, you heard? And you don't have to worry about paying for no rent or nothing like that. I'm just trying to get you niggas out the hood. Melly, too. Melly ended up getting shot, right? Like none of these would listen, and everything that happened that you know can happen in the hood end up happening and shit like that, you know what I mean? But everything to try to protect them for what I know could have happened to them, I tried. You heard? From getting all of these cars to getting all these, everything. You can imagine everything. Private jets, Miami, hundreds of thousands in one weekend, 2 tour buses at Atlanta, like, cannot front on how I had my boys moving. And I'm only talking about this because you was there, and you and Stacks were best friends, or Bino, couple others and shit like that. Other than I don't even talk to people about Stacks and what went on, but we was sending out. This was not on our level when we was moving. And
Yayo pulled up on Math Hoffa's podcast and dropped a bomb that reignited everything. And this time, it's not just about pride, it's personal. No sugarcoating. Tony Yayo went straight for the jugular. He claimed Jim Jones left Stack bundles in the streets to die. Yeah, that's the bomb he dropped, and the second it hit the internet, the streets locked in instantly. Yayo didn't hold back, didn't sugar it, didn't blink. He said Jim didn't move right, didn't protect Stack, didn't pull him out of the trenches. And according to Yayo, that lack of action played a real part in Stack's tragic end. That's not just messy rap drama. That's a serious accusation that hits deep. If you don't know who Stack Bundles was, let's rewind a second. Stack wasn't just some random artist. He was family to Jim, signed to him, toured with him, stood right beside him in the streets. The man had New York buzzing like crazy, pure energy, pure charisma. But when the spotlight dimmed and the pressure built up, Stack was still in the hood. And that's where his life got taken, just like that. For years, whispers have been circling, people saying Jim didn't do enough to pull Stack out. And the most savage part, some even claim Jim ran off with everything. The style, the slang, the whole wave that Stack built from the ground up. That's a cold allegation, and it still stings to this day. Don't get it twisted though, Stack wasn't some average rapper. He was way ahead of his time. His presence, his drip, his sound, futuristic. If he was alive today, he'd be sitting front row at Paris Fashion Week next to ASAP Rocky, easy. That's how far gone his vision was. So when folks say Jim Jones ran off with Stack's whole drip but left the man himself behind, it cuts deep and people still talk about it. Now, Jim's side of the story? He swears it's all cap, says he gave Stack everything. Money, shows, travel, real chances to escape the streets. But according to Jim, Stack just wouldn't leave. He said the hood had him locked tight, like it wouldn't let go. That's the pain Jim carries. He says it's not about guilt, it's about heartbreak, trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. Jim stands firm on that. I never left Stack behind. And when he spoke about it in that old interview, you could feel it. The man's voice cracked, his face tightened. You could see he was ready to snap on anybody who even mentioned Stack's name. That wasn't some PR stunt or fake tears moment. That was real emotion. Those were scars showing live on camera. Here's what makes it even crazier. Tony Yayo hadn't even opened his mouth back then. Jim was already tense, already defensive, like he knew someone was gonna test him about it. To Jim, Stack wasn't just an artist. That was family. That was love. Now, folks online can debate the numbers, talk about the $25,000 or whatever rumors keep spinning, but nobody's got the full picture. What is clear though, is that Jim's been carrying that weight heavy for years. So when Yayo finally brought his name into the mix, Jim took it like a slap in the face. Full on disrespect, no question about it. Fast forward to that wild sit-down with Memphis Bleek. The second Tony Yayo's name popped up, Jim Jones straight up snapped. You could see it all over his face. Pride, anger, that fire burning behind his eyes. Bleek tried to play peacemaker, calm the energy down, but Jim wasn't hearing it. He went off, loud and unfiltered, saying he ain't starving, his circle ain't starving, and that all this talk about sponsors was nothing but clown talk. Then Jim switched gears and started flexing. Houses, cars, the whole flashy lifestyle rundown like he was reading his resume out loud. He wanted everyone watching to know, he's good. But here's the crazy twist. Yayo never even called Jim broke. Not once. What Yayo really said cut in a different way. He said Jim was fine, but his team didn't look like they were winning. That was the real jab. It wasn't about Jim's wallet, it was about his people, the ones standing behind him. Yayo basically implied that while Jim shines, his crew looks hungry, and that's what hit home. Because in this game, if your circle don't look strong, people start questioning your leadership. If Jim had kept it focused on that, if he'd addressed the comment about his squad, he might have flipped the whole narrative in his favor. But pride took the wheel. Jim wasn't trying to analyze or reason. He felt disrespected. You could see it clear as day. To him, Yayo wasn't critiquing, he was clowning him in front of the whole world. And Jim Jones, he don't let anyone play with his name or the people around him. That's when it exploded. Jim raised his voice and fired back. Ain't nobody feeding me. I built this from the ground up. You could feel the heat through the mic. He wanted everyone to know. He's not living off Jay-Z, not 50 Cent, not a single soul. He's self-made, built his lane from scratch, and he needed that respected, no debate. But instead of cooling down, Jim kept pushing the gas. He turned all that frustration into fire and launched it straight at Tony Yayo. He called him out directly, saying he's just hiding behind 50 Cent, living in his shadow like a backup dancer in a G-Unit uniform. That shot landed hard. You could hear the tension in the room. The whole vibe flipped instantly. What started as podcast banter turned into straight up personal drama. Bleak tried to step in again, calm things down, but by that point, Jim was too far gone. He was deep in his feelings, venting years of pent-up frustration. Because truth be told, this wasn't just about Tony Yayo anymore. This was everything bubbling up from years of quiet comparisons. The side comments, the whispers like, you don't take care of your people. It all came rushing out at once. Jim had been biting his tongue for too long, and that night, the gloves came off. When that switch flipped, it was game over. Jim made it clear, he ain't backing down from nobody. Not Tony Yayo, not any man breathing. He stayed on flex mode, listing cars, money, deals. Like he had to remind everyone watching that he's still that dude. But let's be real, this was never just about status or stacks. This was personal, deep-rooted, emotional. It wasn't about proving wealth. It was about proving worth. Jim was defending something bigger. His pride, his reputation, his legacy. And Tony Yayo, he didn't backpedal or rant. Nope. He hit back in his own cold, calculated way. No words, no back and forth, just one savage move. A repost of Jim's longtime rival, Max B. No caption, no comment, just the photo. That single post said more than 100 diss tracks ever could. The internet erupted. Fans instantly split down the middle. Some said Jim had every right to stand 10 toes down and defend his name, his crew, his legacy. While others said that quiet little repost from Yayo, that was the ultimate checkmate. That one post flipped everything. The moment Tony Yayo hit share on that Max B picture, the internet went nuclear. It was like pressing a big red button that nobody could unpress. Fans, blogs, and even rappers jumped in instantly, dissecting every frame, every motive. Because if you know your hip-hop history, then you already know Jim Jones and Max B's beef runs deep. We're talking about one of the ugliest fallouts in Harlem rap history. These two once shared dreams, hits, and loyalty, but all that went up in flames. Max felt like Jim held him back, like he was eating off Max's wave without giving proper credit. And Jim, he saw Max's betrayal as the ultimate stab in the back. So when Yayo dropped that Max B repost, it wasn't random, it was surgical. It wasn't just a petty shot, it was a trigger, a calculated move that said, I know your deepest wound and I'll press right on it. That's why the internet exploded. Suddenly the timeline was full of old photos, Dipset days, studio clips, even that viral 2009 phone call where Max B clowned Jim for hours. People started reposting those clips like the beef just happened yesterday. Memes flew faster than facts, and every single one painted Jim as the one still haunted by his past. And let's be real, that's what hurt the most. Jim spent years rebuilding his name, his empire, his peace. He went from street rapper to businessman, from crew fights to fitness deals. He reinvented himself, and now one repost from Tony Yayo dragged all that old dirt back up. You could see why Jim was heated. He fired back instantly on live. No filter, no delay, just raw emotion pouring out. He said, "Don't play with me. I've been solid from the jump." He reminded everyone that he never folded, never ratted, never hid behind nobody's shadow. That's Harlem pride talking. And Jim made sure everyone knew it. But Yayo, he stayed quiet after that. That's what made it even colder. He didn't need to talk. The silence was the message. And in hip-hop, silence from a loudmouth like Yayo, that's power. It left fans guessing. And is he done? Or just waiting to drop the next bomb? Meanwhile, other rappers started picking sides, some backing Jim, saying Yayo crossed the line, bringing Max B into it. Others laughing like, that's just hip-hop, ain't no rules in war. Even Cameron chimed in subtly with a cryptic story post. Just a laughing emoji over a picture of champagne. No words, no names, but everybody knew who he meant. At that point, it wasn't even about podcasts anymore. It became culture commentary. Who's real? Who's fake? Who stands by their people? And who just talks loyalty online? Every comment section turned into a war zone. Dipset fans versus G-Unit fans, old heads versus new school. But under all that chaos, one thing became clear. Both men touched a nerve in the culture. Jim exposed how quick the streets turn memory into mockery. Yayo showed how powerful one post can be when it hits the right nerve. And deep down, everyone could feel it. This beef wasn't just about pride or podcasts anymore. It was legacy versus perception, Harlem versus Queens, emotion versus ego. When Jim stood up that day, screaming he built his life from the ground up, that was more than flex talk. That was a man fighting to protect the only thing money can't buy, respect. And when Yayo hit that repost button, that was his way of saying, you might have the fame, but I still control the narrative. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's classic hip-hop energy. Now the question everyone's asking, is this done, or did Yayo just reopen one of the oldest scars in the game? After that repost, things got way darker. Jim Jones didn't just feel disrespected, he felt violated. That Max B move hit him right in the heart. You could see the shift. He wasn't just angry, he was hurt, like someone dug up a ghost he buried years ago. The whole energy around him changed, from flashy flex to pure frustration. Jim went live again a few days later, this time calmer but still tense, pacing back and forth, trying to hold it together. He said, y'all keep bringing up names that ain't got nothing to do with today. I've been through real pain, real loss. Don't play with that. You could hear the weight in his voice. It wasn't about beef anymore. It was about boundaries. Meanwhile, Tony Yayo kept trolling, reposting memes, laughing emojis, and subtle captions like, we don't hide, we highlight. That's when fans realized this wasn't gonna cool down soon. Every post Yayo made felt like another match dropped on gasoline. What made it even wilder, industry insiders started whispering that this feud had been brewing behind the scenes for months. Apparently, Jim and Yayo had already bumped into each other at a private event in Miami earlier this year, and it didn't go smooth. Rumors say there was a lot of side-eyeing and fake smiles, and after that, they never spoke again. So by the time Yayo threw that public shot, Jim already had tension built up. This wasn't just social media smoke, it was a volcano that had been rumbling for a while, and the internet ate it all up. Blogs were posting Jim versus Yayo, Harlem versus Queens, like it was the next Versus battle. Comment sections turned into digital street corners, everyone picking sides, bringing up old interviews, even dragging 50 Cent into it. Fans were tagging him non-stop like, you gonna let your man Yayo do that? But 50 stayed silent, just posted a clip of himself laughing with champagne and the caption, every season got its clowns. No names, no tags, but everyone caught the message. He was watching, and that silence from the boss just made everything spicier. Jim's crew, though, didn't take it lightly. One of his close associates hopped online saying, we don't do online games. Say less, move more. That one line had fans thinking something real might go down next. Because in this game, when people stop talking, that's when it gets serious. Still, there's another layer people keep ignoring. The pride behind all this. Both of these men came from eras where your name meant everything. To them, reputation is currency. You can lose deals, you can lose money, but losing respect, that's unforgivable. Jim's outburst wasn't just anger, it was fear too. Fear that people might start believing the internet's version of his story. After years of rebuilding himself, he refuses to let one post define him again. And Yayo, he's playing the opposite game. Calm, controlled, letting Jim do all the shouting while he just pokes and watches it all burn. It's the oldest trick in the book. Make your opponent lose composure and the crowd will crown you the winner. And right now, that's what it looks like. The more Jim talks, the more Yayo stays silent, and the more fans start seeing Jim as defensive. It's psychological warfare at its finest. One man fighting for respect, the other controlling perception. At this point, it's not even about who's richer or who's tougher. It's about who owns the narrative. And in this social media era, that's what decides who wins the war. Jim might have the history, the hits, the hustle. But Yayo, he's got the internet on his side right now. And in 2025, that's dangerous power. One post started it all. But now, it's not just words anymore. This is pride versus perception, Harlem grit against Queens cunning, and the streets are watching, waiting to see who blinks first. Weeks passed, but the smoke still hadn't cleared. Every few days, a new clip, a new post, a new insider leak kept the fire burning. Jim Jones tried moving past it, posting workout videos, fashion shoots, luxury trips. But fans flooded the comments with one name, Yayo. No matter what he did, that shadow followed him everywhere. And Tony Yayo, he was loving it. Cool, calm, unbothered, moving like a man who already won the war. Every now and then he'd drop a sneaky bar or repost something small that said everything without saying a word. That silence started to sting more than any diss track ever could. Then came the curveball. A leaked clip from an unreleased podcast episode started circulating, allegedly recorded right after the Bleak interview. In it, Jim's voice could be heard saying, certain dudes need to remember who fed them first. The internet went wild. Everyone assumed it was about Yayo, but some fans thought he might have been taking a swipe at 50 Cent too. The speculation got so crazy that blogs began connecting dots that didn't even exist. Suddenly the narrative wasn't just Jim versus Yayo, it was Jim versus the entire G-Unit legacy. Old videos resurfaced, interviews from the early 2000s where Jim and Cameron joked about 50's power moves, old Dipset verses, and even throwback clips of 50 clowning Harlem rappers. The whole internet turned it into a new age history lesson. Jim's next move came fast. He hopped on Instagram Live again, visibly tired of the noise. He said, "I ain't beefing with nobody from 20 years ago. But if y'all keep pushing my name, I'm gonna start telling stories that ain't never been told." That one sentence sent shockwaves. Fans started asking, what stories? Who was he talking about? It didn't take long before people started guessing. From tour secrets to label deals gone wrong. That single warning had the whole culture on alert, because when a Harlem vet says he's ready to talk, you know there's smoke behind it. Meanwhile, Tony Yayo stayed playful with it, dropped a TikTok laughing to an old Dipset beat with the caption, "Harlem Nights, Queens Mornings." The comment section went insane. People were tagging Jim non-stop, daring him to respond. And just when it looked like Jim might let it slide, another bomb dropped. 50 Cent entered the chat, not directly, but in the most 50 way possible. He posted a photo of himself counting money with the caption, "Ain't nobody arguing when the bag talking." No names, no context, but the timing said it all. Jim's fans saw it as mockery, Yayo's fans called it victory, and the blogs, they went into overdrive. G-Unit versus Dipset Part 2 started trending. Even DJ Academics jumped in, posting, "This might be the realest old head beef we've seen in years." But what people missed under all that noise was the real emotional weight of it. Jim wasn't just fighting Yayo, he was fighting the internet's version of himself. He's worked years to outgrow that old image, to be respected as a businessman and a boss. But every time he loses his cool, the world drags him back into the street narrative. And Yayo, he knows that. He's playing chess while everyone else plays checkers. Staying quiet, staying funny, letting the world do the talking for him. That's how you control a story without lifting a finger. At this point, there's no winner. Just wounds reopened, reputations tested, and fans feeding on every drop of drama. Still, one thing's undeniable. Both these men reminded everyone that even after decades, hip-hop loyalty still runs deep, and betrayal, real or imagined, still hits harder than any punch. And the wildest part? The culture ain't done talking about it yet, because every time someone says it's over, another shot gets fired online. The saga continues, louder than ever. Even weeks later, the echo of that clash still hadn't faded. Every podcast, every YouTube channel, every gossip page was still dissecting every single word Jim and Yayo threw at each other. What started as a tense podcast debate had turned into something way bigger. A culture-wide conversation about loyalty, pride, and what it really means to feed your people in this industry. But here's the twist. It wasn't even about Jim and Yayo anymore. The story had grown legs of its own. It became a full-blown debate about the old guard versus the new era, about who controls the narrative and who really holds the power in hip-hop today. People started asking hard questions. Who gets to tell the truth? Who decides which voices matter? Why do so many artists stay silent when the gatekeepers cross the line? Jim's outburst cracked open a door that the industry had kept locked tight for years. And now that door can't be closed again. Because let's be real. For decades, fear ruled the game. If a powerful name didn't rock with you, your career could vanish overnight. A single phone call could block you from a feature, a show, or a label meeting. But that era is fading fast. The internet flipped the whole structure upside down. Now anyone with a camera, a mic, and Wi-Fi can speak their truth. And that's exactly what's shaking the industry right now. Jim might have reacted emotionally, but deep down, his blow-up tapped into something real, that raw, unfiltered energy of artists who are done asking for permission. And Tony Yayo, whether he meant to or not, he became the spark that lit the whole discussion. His comments forced the culture to look at itself, to ask why loyalty feels so one-sided, why feeding your people often turns into control instead of community. Suddenly, podcasts everywhere were debating it. One show said Yayo's not wrong. Most rappers build empires alone while their crews starve. Another fired back, nah, that's cap. Loyalty means moving together, not just eating together. Everyone had a take and none of them could agree. Even legends chimed in. NORE called it old school pride mixed with new school exposure. While Fat Joe said, this new generation don't fear the OGs anymore. They got their own platforms now. That's when it hit people. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was a generational shift happening live. And the irony, the same internet that once tore artists down is now what's giving them freedom. The same platforms that once spread drama are now forcing accountability. Nobody's untouchable anymore, not even the so-called gatekeepers. Jim's fire might have come from anger, but the message behind it, that's what kept everyone talking. Because in that moment, he represented every artist who ever felt overlooked, every voice that got drowned out by politics and power moves. He said with his actions what so many were scared to say out loud. You can't control the mic anymore. The streets, the fans, the new generation, they got their own cameras, their own platforms, their own power now. And that's what's got the industry trembling. The old system where fear kept people quiet is crumbling. Authenticity sells louder than silence now. This whole saga, Jim versus Yayo, Harlem versus Queens, OG versus New Era, turned into more than just entertainment. It became a mirror showing how hip-hop has evolved. Because now, one thing's for sure, whether you love Jim or side with Yayo, you can't deny this moment changed the energy. It reminded everyone that respect can't be bought, fear doesn't last forever, and silence ain't survival anymore. The mic belongs to the people now, and they're not giving it back. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.
So I knew I was okay. He sold 11 million records. He had deals with Jay-Z and them, but Jay-Z ain't gonna never. Dude, I always tell him all the time, Jay-Z ain't treat me like this.
Oh, he definitely like playing this nigga.
Jay-Z might not even say hard as all.
So we just had a lit. Jay-Z will never take you to a party like this.
A lot of, you know, me from the hood, so people look at Bleak and don't understand the business he's doing. They always look at Jay like, oh yeah.
But that's why. That's why you got like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of. I don't need Jay to go on tour.
Yo, smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene.
Welcome back, gang. Oh, things just got wild. Jim Jones poked the wrong bear, and Uncle Murda's not letting that slide one bit. Jim tried to clown Tony Yayo for saying 50 Cent takes better care of his people than Jay-Z. But that joke backfired fast. Uncle Murda, who's tight with both Rockefeller and G-Unit camps, jumped in and started talking real, and the internet exploded over it. Murda didn't hold back for a second. He said 50's been feeding his day ones for decades, keeping his crew tight, paid, and loyal. Meanwhile, he hinted that once you're no longer useful to Jay, that Rock Nation brunch invite just disappears. Fans were quick to react.
What was your relationship like with Jay-Z? Who were you to him?
Well, basically, I was his right-hand man. You know what I mean? Beyond that, we was brothers. for him not to even give me time, even to act like he didn't know me. You know what I'm saying? For all that I sacrificed, all that my people sacrificed, you know, all that my family sacrificed. You know, I never knew that it'd get to this. Even label me with some statements or some snitching, you know, snitching statements. I think that's about the utmost disrespect.
It is, especially streetwise.
Calling Jay-Z a cold businessman while saying 50's empire runs on something deeper. Loyalty and brotherhood. Now, let's rewind a bit and see how all this started. Tony Yayo sat down for an interview and dropped some raw truth that hit fans straight in the chest. According to Yayo, Jay-Z doesn't really look out for his people the same way 50 does. He said 50 always made sure his circle was taken care of, flying them out, putting them on stage, giving TV cameos, and cutting them into his business moves. And all 50 ever wanted in return, loyalty, plain and simple. But then Jim Jones jumped in, and that's when things got messy quick.
Spoke about how
Jay don't look
out for Bleak like Fifth look out for you.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I just want to clear that up. Hov don't have to.
And then he said he eat his home halal.
You know what I mean? All right. Okay. I'm chewing halal on my own.
He eats on his own. I eat on my own too. Right. I go on my own tour. I just came off tour.
Right.
When have you seen Bleak on tour? On his own. Jay-Z is not a bad guy. Bleak is not a bad guy. I'm not saying. I'm saying to you that Jay-Z was all business with them niggas. When Buck up on his taxes, 50 a piece and more. When Prodigy bought a house and needed more money, 50 a piece and more. Prodigy are paying back. The thing with 50 is, it was business and we was friends. I don't feel like Bleak was Jay-Z friend. I don't feel like Young Guns was Jay-Z friend. It came to a point where 50 was helping Siegel.
During a convo with Memphis Bleak, Jim started throwing slick shots at Yayo, calling him broke and claiming he's still living off 50's name. That's when Uncle Murda entered the chat and dropped a bomb that shook the entire internet. Nah, Jay got business partners, but 50 got brothers. That line hit like a punch to the gut because it exposed something real. Jay might build billion-dollar empires, but 50 builds loyalty that money can't buy. Murda wasn't just defending 50, he was calling out the difference between corporate love and real street loyalty. The streets went wild, and just like that, lines were drawn, sides were chosen, and the debate hasn't cooled down since. People online are going back and forth like crazy over this one. Some say Jim Jones was completely out of line for disrespecting Tony Yayo, straight up uncalled for. Others, though, are saying Uncle Murda just reminded everyone who really runs this game, because when it comes down to it, 50 Cent keeps his crew close for a reason. They earned that spot from day one. Loyalty means everything to him, and both Uncle Murda and Yayo made that loud and clear in their latest interview. They even touched on how Jay-Z never looked out for Murda the way 50 did, and that part hit deep. Yayo broke it down simple. 50 never forgot who was there when he was broke, hustling, and had nothing. Those same people stayed solid, so now he's keeping them shining, flying, and getting paid. But here's where it starts to heat up. The internet's completely divided. Some are backing Jim, saying Yayo still lives off 50's name, and that Jay doesn't need to flex his generosity online. They argue, just because Jay ain't posting screenshots don't mean he ain't helping his people quietly. But on the flip side, way more fans are dragging Jim for stepping into something that had nothing to do with him.
A lot of, you know, me from the hood, so people look at Bleak and don't understand the business he's doing. They always look at Jay like, oh,
yeah. That's why you got like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of it. I don't need Jay to go on tour.
Real smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of, nigga. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something, yo.
You do need
you
that
might
help.
need
That's
2
why,
ounces.
That's why
paid
you
in full
looking
move. I got a G for every bump in your face. I promise you that.
That's
I promise you that.
Why you worrying about
Peon, you broke. You know I got it.
I was in 50 crib, no roaches and all that, being little spot, small spot. Nobody believes in that. You playing Get Rich or Die Trying already in the crib. You had to ask that done. Like, both. And like everybody get confused because they don't think that your dream was gonna come. But you gotta, you know what I mean? That's why I respect him, because we had more of an assist. We had 50 Cent. So I knew I was okay. He sold 11 million records. Even motherfucker, he had deals with Jay-Z and them, but Jay-Z ain't gonna never. Dude, I always tell him all the time, Jay-Z ain't treat me like this.
Oh, he definitely like playing artists.
Jay-Z might not even say hard though.
So we just had the party we was just at in Miami with the Kardashians, Serena Williams, and everybody. We just finished performing. Great time, right? First thing my man here want to say, yeah, lit. Jay-Z ain't never take you to a party like this.
You might get him.
Nah.
One person clapped back, saying, Jim Jones running his mouth like he ran when somebody put hands on him. Another fan dropped, we all know Jimmy doing the most just to stay relevant. And another one wrote, Jim said he better than Yayo. Enough said. The comment sections are going nuts right now. Sides are being picked, shots are being fired, and the drama's getting messy fast. Now let's circle back to that killer line from Uncle Murda. Jay got business partners, but 50 got brothers. That wasn't just slick talk, that came straight from experience. Murda's time at Rockefeller barely lasted a year before he linked up with G-Unit, and once he did, he said he finally saw what real loyalty looked like. 50 doesn't just keep people around for deals, he puts them in position to win for real. He teaches them how to move smart, how to make money, and how to stay solid. Yayo's been riding with 50 since the early mixtape days, and after all these years, 50's still making sure his crew's booked worldwide. It's not about private jets, penthouses, or flashy designer fits. With 50, it's about legacy, loyalty, and lifting your people up for life. Tony Yayo dropped some real-life lessons that had fans nodding their heads. He revealed that 50 actually taught him how to manage his money, invest smart, and build real stability, not just quick fame. And get this, Uncle Murda said he bought his first house ever after signing with 50. That's not just loyalty, that's leadership. When Murda linked up with G-Unit, everything changed. 50 didn't just throw him a verse or a shout out, he gave him access, business knowledge, and real opportunities to grow. He opened doors that most rappers never even see and made sure Murda's name stayed hot in the streets. That right there is what separates 50 from everybody else. He doesn't treat his people like temporary co-workers. He treats them like family. Once you're solid with him, you're solid for life. 50 built an empire off loyalty, not just contracts, checks, or flashy deals, but off real bonds that stand the test of time. Now, when you shift your eyes to Jay-Z's circle, the energy feels totally different. Jay moves like a CEO running a billion-dollar corporation. Cold, clean, calculated. Everything's about business. You're around when the deal works for both sides, and when it doesn't, you're gone. No emotions, no explanations, no loyalty checks, just silence. And if you look at the pattern, it's clear. Dame Dash, Kanye West, Beanie Siegel all played massive roles in Jay's rise. They were the foundation of the rock era, but one by one, he cut them loose and never looked back. It's like once you're no longer part of the brand, you vanish from the blueprint completely. But it goes even deeper. Remember Jaz-O, the man who literally put Jay-Z on. He was mentoring Jay back when nobody even knew the name Jay-Z. But once fame hit, Jay switched up quick. He left Jazz in the dust like the bond never meant a thing. And then there's DeHaven, one of Jay's oldest friends from the Marcy Projects. This was the man who helped Jay in the early days, looked out for him before the fame and the money came. But once Jay went full corporate, it's like DeHaven never existed. He even came out publicly saying Jay lied on his name, called him a snitch, and turned his back completely. When he was asked about that friendship, his voice broke with pain. Who was I to him? I guess I was just useful until I wasn't. So when Uncle Murda dropped that legendary line, Jay got business partners, but 50 got brothers. It hit different. That wasn't just wordplay, it was truth wrapped in a bar. Jay moves like a businessman, sharp, focused, always protecting the brand. But loyalty? That doesn't seem to be part of the plan. Nobody ever calls Jay loyal. They call him cold, corporate, and calculated. But 50, his loyalty runs deep. And that's exactly why the people who started with him are still standing beside him today. You can trace 50's loyalty all the way back to the start. The same people who were grinding with him from day one are still right there by his side. And if someone's missing from that circle, best believe it's not because 50 switched up. It's because they did. That's the real difference between 50 Cent and Jay-Z. One builds brotherhoods, the other builds boardrooms. What really makes 50 stand out is how he never forgot who held him down when nobody else would. Back in Queens, when things got ugly and doors were slamming in his face, his day ones stayed by his side. And he's never let that loyalty go to waste. When the fame hit, he didn't swap them out for fake industry friends or shiny new faces. He brought his real ones along for the ride. That's why even decades later, you'll still see Tony Yayo, Lloyd Banks, and Uncle Murda standing right beside him, not as employees, but as family. Behind the scenes, people even say 50 treats loyalty like a business model. He invests in his people, not just throwing money at them, but giving them real opportunities. He sets them up with platforms, connects them with the right producers, and teaches them how to flip that street hustle into long-term income. 50 doesn't just hand out help. He equips his crew to win. He's not here to babysit grown men. He's here to show them how to build legacies of their own. That's why his circle's still tight after all these years. Everyone eats, but they all know how to feed themselves too. Meanwhile, when you look at Jay-Z's side, people online keep saying he plays chess, not checkers. Every move he makes is strategic, every relationship calculated. His connections look powerful, but they're all business. Useful only when the deal benefits both sides. And the second something doesn't fit that billion-dollar brand image, that bond quietly fades into the background. People still respect Jay-Z as a business genius, no doubt about that, but even his biggest supporters admit it's lonely at the top when your empire's built on deals instead of devotion. Fans online have been comparing the energy between both camps, G-Unit versus Rock Nation, and the difference is wild. When G-Unit links up, you feel family, history, and loyalty in every move, but with Rock Nation, it's suits, contracts, and controlled smiles. One's built from the trenches, the other from the boardroom, and fans can feel that energy loud and clear. When G-Unit links up, it doesn't just feel like business. It feels like a family reunion, real love, real laughs, real loyalty. You can see the brotherhood energy every time they step in the room. They move like men who've survived the trenches together. But when Rock Nation pulls up, it feels different, almost like a corporate mixer. Everyone's suited up, glancing at watches, keeping conversations short, more boardroom than brotherhood. And that right there is exactly what Uncle Murda meant when he said 50 builds brothers, not just brands. Even insiders across the industry say 50's loyalty is the reason he's respected by rappers, actors, and producers alike. They all say the same thing. If 50 rocks with you, he's locked in for life. And that kind of loyalty, man, that's rare in a business where most people switch sides the second the money hits the table. What's wild is that 50's loyalty isn't just emotional, it's strategic. He's proven over and over that taking care of your people makes your empire stronger. Every time he levels up, whether it's TV, music, or big business, he always brings his circle with him. When he launched Power, he made sure his day ones ate too, giving them acting gigs, production credits, and real Hollywood connects. Then when BMF hit the screens, he did it again, pulling in familiar faces from his come-up, turning street legends into screen icons. That's why folks still call him one of the realest in entertainment, and they're not lying. There are receipts everywhere. Fans point out how Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda are still touring across the globe because 50 keeps them booked, active, and paid. Even beyond music, 50 doesn't just chase success, he shares it. He plugs his people into movie roles, podcast deals, brand partnerships, and touring opportunities, making sure everyone eats. It's a rare mindset in an industry built on ego and competition, but that's what separates him from the rest. Meanwhile, social media has been on fire comparing how 50 treats his circle versus how other moguls treat theirs. Some users joked, being in 50's crew is like having lifetime job security, while another wrote, being around Jay-Z feels more like an unpaid internship, good until the networking stops. That joke went viral fast, not just because it was funny, but because there's truth buried underneath. Behind all the laughs, there's a deeper message, one that hits the heart of what makes 50's legacy so powerful. He doesn't just build empires, he builds people. And that's the reason why even after decades in the game, his name still carries real respect, not just fame. Both men represent power, but in completely different ways. Jay-Z's approach is all about silence, precision, and exclusivity. He moves like a chess master, planning 10 steps ahead, keeping every move quiet until it's too late for anyone to counter. But 50 Cent, he leads through connection, loyalty, and shared victories. He doesn't build distance, he builds bonds. And that's exactly why people still rally behind him today. One values privacy, the other values presence. And that's why fans stay locked in with 50. He doesn't just talk about loyalty, he lives it every single day. That's the message Uncle Murda and Tony Yayo keep pushing out there. This whole debate ain't about who's richer, it's about who's realer. Every time 50 puts his people on, another tour, another role, another deal. He's reminding the entire industry that success hits different when everyone at your table's eating with you. At the end of the day, it all comes down to one simple truth. 50 moves with loyalty first, while Jay-Z moves with strategy first. And honestly, neither one's wrong, they're just built different. But let's be real, the one definitely feels more genuine, more human. 50's the type who never forgets who held him down when he was broke and blackballed, and now that he's on top, he's making sure those same people are still winning right beside him. That's why fans respect him so much. His success doesn't feel selfish, it feels shared. Jay-Z, though, plays the long game like a true corporate titan. Every friendship, every deal, every handshake fits neatly into his billion-dollar blueprint. And you can't hate that, he's mastered the business side of the game to the point where his empire's practically untouchable. But it comes with a cost: distance. His relationships feel polished, professional, and perfectly managed, but not always personal. That's the trade-off right there. Strategy might make you a billionaire, but loyalty builds a family that'll ride for you forever. The internet's been split down the middle on who's the better boss. And at this point, it's not even about money anymore. It's about energy. 50's loyalty hits different because it feels real, raw, and alive. You can see it when he's cracking jokes with Yayo on stage, shouting out Uncle Murda on Instagram, or setting his people up to win behind the scenes. That's what fans mean when they say 50 don't switch up. Jay might dominate the boardrooms, no doubt, but 50, he runs the hearts of his crew, and the fans right along with them. And that's exactly why this whole debate blew up the way it did, because it's bigger than rap, bigger than money. It's about real love versus business love. So now the question is, who you riding with? The debate's getting louder by the day, and what started as simple barbershop talk has turned into a full-blown culture war online. Comment sections, podcasts, even industry insiders are all chiming in with their takes. Because this isn't just about 50 Cent and Jay-Z anymore. It's about what kind of loyalty the game respects most. Fans are dissecting every interview, every post, every lyric, trying to figure out who really walks the talk when it comes to taking care of their people. You've got one side saying Jay-Z's approach is about legacy, precision, and generational wealth, that he's teaching the blueprint for long-term success, not just fast wins. They argue that his silence isn't cold, it's focused, that cutting people off isn't betrayal, it's evolution. To them, Jay represents the modern mogul, someone who turned hustle into high art, who traded street respect for global influence. But the other side, they're riding with 50 all day because 50's style feels real. It's raw, loud, and full of heart. When he wins, everyone around him wins too. He doesn't need press releases or glossy brunch photos. His loyalty plays out live in front of the world. The fans see it every time Yayo drops a verse, every time Uncle Murda gets booked, every time a G-Unit member pops up in a new project. It's living proof that loyalty still matters in an industry built on smoke and mirrors. And let's be honest, that's why 50's fan base is so loyal to him. He gives people something rare in today's entertainment world: transparency. He laughs, he trolls, he brags, he clowns, but through it all, he keeps it authentic. That raw connection keeps fans locked in for decades. They don't just watch him, they root for him. Meanwhile, Jay's supporters say it's unfair to compare, that his world operates on a different level entirely. Billion-dollar partnerships, global philanthropy, high-stakes investments. His loyalty doesn't show up on Instagram. It shows up in the long game. They say he's building legacy moves that go beyond friendship, turning culture into currency, and that comes with sacrifices that only a few could ever understand. But even some of his fans admit there's a coldness to it. Jay's circle might be rich, but it doesn't look warm. There's no brotherhood energy. It's more strategy, less soul. That's where 50 shines, because his camp doesn't feel like employees, it feels like family. At this point, social media is divided like never before. Team 50 versus Team Hav. Memes, debates, threads. It's all over TikTok, X, and Instagram. One viral post said it best. Jay builds empires, but 50 builds armies. That quote exploded because it perfectly captured what fans have been saying for weeks. 50's loyalty creates soldiers who'll ride forever, while Jay's business model creates partners who'll leave when the deal expires. So now the question echoing across the internet is this: what's more valuable in today's game? Strategy that lasts a lifetime or loyalty that never fades? Because if there's one thing this entire debate proved, it's that both men mastered power. They just use it in completely different ways. And whichever side you're on, one thing's crystal clear. Hip-hop needs both kinds of kings to keep the culture alive. Now the talk's reached another level. It's no longer just fans debating online. Even artists, podcasters, and old industry heads are picking sides. Everywhere you look, the question keeps popping up. Who really represents the heart of hip-hop loyalty? 50 Cent or Jay-Z? Because this thing ain't dying down anytime soon, it's become a conversation about what kind of leader defines this era. The one who moves with loyalty or the one who moves with legacy? Behind the scenes, insiders claim 50's been watching all the noise quietly, but don't get it twisted. He knows exactly what's being said, and knowing 50, he's probably got a few chess moves of his own lined up. One source said, "He loves when people underestimate him. That's when he strikes the hardest." Fans already suspect he's cooking up another power play, maybe a documentary, a new G-Unit project, or even a major Hollywood announcement that'll keep his team shining even brighter. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's camp hasn't said a word, staying silent as usual, just letting the numbers speak, but that silence only fuels the discussion. Every time 50 cracks a joke online or drops a playful jab, social media lights up like wildfire. And Jay's calm, collected approach only makes the contrast stronger. It's the perfect storm of two powerful men with completely different codes, and fans can't get enough. People are saying this debate is the new blueprint versus get rich or die trying era. Not about music, but about mentality. Jay built a $1 trillion brand out of discipline and control, while 50 turned pain, loyalty, and raw connection into unstoppable influence. One's boardroom, the other's battlefield, and both sides believe their guy represents the real core of hip-hop power. Some even argue that what 50's doing now, putting his crew on, feeding families, creating opportunities, is what hip-hop was meant to be from the start. A brotherhood built on survival, trust, and shared success. While others claim Jay's version, global expansion, clean deals, and generational wealth, is the evolution of the game. Two kings, two visions, one never-ending argument that's splitting timelines wide open. What's crazy is how personal it's become for fans. People are bringing up old interviews, street stories, and even decade-old photos as proof that one of them's the realest. One viral post even said, "Jay-Z's empire looks perfect, but 50's empire feels real." And that line right there, that's what's keeping this whole fire burning, because in a world obsessed with money and fame, people still crave something authentic. At the end of the day, both men carved their legacies in stone, just different kinds of stone. Jay's name shines in marble halls, 50's is carved into concrete walls, and both stand strong in their own right. But when it comes to heart, when it comes to loyalty, when it comes to who really stands with their people, fans keep circling back to one name. That's why no matter how polished Jay's empire looks, 50's story still hits deeper. His path might be messier, louder, and full of chaos, but it's real. And in this culture, real always wins eventually. So whether you ride for the boardroom or the block, the truth is clear. This debate isn't fading anytime soon, because loyalty and legacy will always keep hip-hop divided and alive. The wildest part, this back and forth between 50 and Jay has become bigger than either of them. It's turned into a mirror for the whole industry, exposing how artists, crews, and moguls move when the spotlight fades. The streets, the blogs, and even corporate boardrooms are watching closely, because this debate cuts deep into what hip-hop's always been about: respect, loyalty, and the power of staying real. People are calling it the loyalty war, because that's exactly what it is. A battle between two ways of winning. Jay's fans argue that silence and separation are what keep him on top, that you can't mix business with emotion and expect to survive in a billion-dollar world. They say he's not cold, he's focused, that keeping your circle small isn't disloyal, it's smart. To them, Jay represents what comes after the hustle: discipline, elevation, and control. But then there's 50, and his side's louder than ever, because 50 represents that raw, grounded power that hip-hop was built on, the kind of success that still keeps the same crew in the photo decades later. He doesn't hide behind mystery or PR filters. He speaks his mind, stands by his people, and calls out anyone who forgets where they came from. That's why his movement hits fans differently. It's not just entertainment, it's proof that you can stay loyal and still win big. And look, there's something symbolic in how both men built their empires. Jay's world is skyscrapers, suits, and strategy meetings, the polished evolution of hip-hop's ambition. But 50's world, it's concrete, cameras, and connection, built from the block, not the boardroom. And the way fans see it, one built a corporation, the other built a community. Now, insiders say this loyalty talk might even spark something bigger behind the scenes. Rumors are floating that 50's been in talks about producing a new documentary series highlighting the real stories behind G-Unit, the struggles, the loyalty, and the lessons learned. If that happens, it could shift the whole narrative again, because no matter how many awards Jay racks up, 50's greatest achievement might just be the people he lifted along the way. Meanwhile, Jay's silence continues. Calm, strategic, unbothered. His focus is legacy, not chatter, and truthfully, that's what keeps this whole contrast alive. Two kings who play two completely different games. The fans feel that energy clash. One's emotional, one's analytical, one thrives on connection, the other on control. And that's why this debate won't die, because it's not just about who's richer, smarter, or more successful. It's about what kind of man people believe in more: the businessman who built an empire of power, or the hustler who built an empire of people. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. Jay built a castle in the clouds, but 50 built a fortress in the streets. And that line hit so hard because it captured exactly how fans see them. One untouchable, one unforgettable. No matter how time moves, one thing's for sure: both of these men redefined what power looks like. But while Jay's power sits high above the world, 50's power lives inside it. And that's the kind of energy you can't buy, brand, or duplicate. This loyalty war, it's far from over, because when two giants move with completely different codes, the culture's gonna feel every single step. And just when you thought the storm was starting to calm down, boom, a whole new wave of drama hits the internet. Fans dug up old interviews, unreleased clips, and even behind-the-scenes footage from the power set showing just how deep 50's loyalty really runs. One viral clip showed him talking to cast members, saying, "If you eat with me, you'll never starve. Just stay solid." That line went crazy online, racking up millions of views in hours. People were calling it the realest quote of the year. That moment reminded everyone why 50's brand of loyalty hits so different. It's not just talk, it's lifestyle. He moves like a general who still remembers what it felt like to be broke, blackballed, and counted out. That hunger never left, it just evolved. He turned it into fuel for his people, his projects, and his power moves. That's why every time 50 drops something new, whether it's a show, a deal, or a tour, fans feel involved. It's not just his win, it's their win too. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's name started trending again, not because he responded, but because fans started analyzing his silence. They were saying things like, "Jay doesn't clap back, he just cashes bigger checks." And Hov doesn't argue, he acquires. That silence has become part of his mystique, the ultimate flex in a world obsessed with noise. And even though people drag him for being distant, others defend him, saying that's the price of operating on his level. He's not ghosting people, he's guarding peace. Still, that comparison between the two keeps hitting deeper. One fan wrote, "Jay-Z inspires you to level up, but 50 makes you feel like you're already part of something bigger." That comment blew up across social media because it hit right at the core of what this debate's really about. Emotional connection versus strategic elevation. One moves the heart, the other moves the stock market. And now, industry insiders are whispering that this ongoing debate might be reshaping how younger artists think about loyalty. Some Some up-and-coming rappers are even saying they'd rather build a G-Unit style team than chase a Rock Nation deal, because they want real connection, not just contracts. That says everything about the power of 50's influence. It's cultural, emotional, and generational. But here's the twist. This loyalty versus legacy conversation isn't hurting either man. If anything, it's keeping both of their names hotter than ever. Jay's empire keeps growing, while 50's respect keeps expanding. It's almost poetic. Two completely different routes to power, both still undefeated. In a way, they've become symbols of two sides of hip-hop's soul. Jay, the visionary who turned street hustle into corporate excellence, and 50, the warrior who turned loyalty into a lifelong brand. And that's why people can't stop talking about them. So while Jay might sit at the top of skyscrapers, shaking hands with billionaires, 50's still down in the trenches, shaking hands with his brothers, and somehow both styles keep winning. At the end of it all, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just two paths, two legends, and one truth. Loyalty and legacy will always be hip-hop's heartbeat, but ask around the streets, and you'll still hear the same thing echoing. Jay built the dream, but 50 built the family. And that's the kind of energy that never fades. As the smoke starts to clear, one thing's become crystal clear. This whole loyalty versus legacy debate has reshaped how fans look at success in hip-hop. It's no longer just about who's richer or who's got the biggest mansion. It's about who stayed true. And between 50 Cent and Jay-Z, both men have proven they're powerful in their own right, just built from completely different blueprints. 50's world runs on loyalty, pure and simple. He built an empire from the ground up, and every brick was laid with the same people who helped him climb out of the dirt. That kind of consistency doesn't fade with time. It grows stronger. You can feel it in how he moves, how he speaks, and who's still standing beside him decades later. His success feels earned, not engineered. He turned street codes into business codes, and that's something no boardroom could ever teach. On the flip side, Jay-Z turned the game into a science. He took the same hustle energy from Marcy Projects and flipped it into billion-dollar precision. His silence is his weapon. Every move, every investment, every partnership is a masterclass in patience and control. That's why his empire stands untouched. It's calculated to perfection. Jay doesn't need to show loyalty publicly because his power sits in his results. But even then, some say that strategy comes with a cost. You might win the world, but lose the warmth that built it. And that's where fans draw their line. Some crave Jay's elevation, others crave 50's connection. It's become less about who's better and more about who feels realer. Because when people see 50 laughing with Yayo or shouting out murder online, it's not just content, it's proof. Proof that fame doesn't have to erase friendship and success doesn't have to mean separation. One thing's for sure, both of these men left permanent marks on the game. Jay showed the culture how far you can go when you think like a businessman, and 50 showed the world that loyalty is the most gangster thing you can build. Two kings, two paths, one message. You can climb to the top without forgetting who pushed you up there. Now, hip-hop's younger generation is watching closely, picking lessons from both sides. Some want to build brands, others want to build brotherhoods, but all of them are realizing you can't have longevity without loyalty. Because money fades, fame shifts, and trends come and go. But the people who were with you from the jump, that's forever. So maybe this debate doesn't need a winner after all. Maybe it's just a reminder that in a game full of power moves, deals, and double crosses, the real victory is staying solid. 50 proved that loyalty is its own kind of empire. Jay proved that legacy never dies. Two legends, two philosophies, one culture, forever shaped by both. And whether you're team loyalty or team legacy, one truth stands tall through it all. Real wins last longer than rich ones. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Pusha T should be on the greatest 50 rappers of all time list?
How? What has he done? What has he done that puts him in the greatest rappers of all time besides talk about that he probably didn't get?
To respect people who turned the lights on for you.
Mace taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. There would be no Jim Jones if it wasn't for them guys.
1 hour later.
And it's good to hear you give Mace flowers.
I ain't giving no flowers. I love the hate, because I'm a hater myself.
This right here is exactly why Jim Jones crashed out again. And this time, it's ugly.
Pusha T looked straight into that camera like he was staring into Jim's soul. He didn't blink once, just dropped the bomb. Jim's been running from the spirit of repossession ever since the bank snatched his house. That line alone had the internet gasping. But oh no, it didn't stop there. Mace literally pulled up with a bucket of popcorn, ready to watch the chaos unfold. And the craziest part, after getting roasted like that in public, Jim still couldn't just take the L and move on. Instead, he doubled down. He came back swinging with a freestyle, throwing sneaky shade on Instagram at both Pusha and Mace, trying to look unbothered. But everyone saw the desperation. Thing is, Mason and Cameron,
you begged us. You are a fan. A fan.
Pause, though. Get off my.
They don't play nice. They came back laughing, tearing him apart with surgical precision. Let's be real. Pusha completely annihilated Jim with that Tiny Desk performance. It wasn't just a performance, it was a public execution. Pusha and Malice walked in like they had a personal vendetta, part of their rollout for the comeback album, Let God Sort 'Em Out. And man, they did not hold back. Their new collab with Kendrick Lamar, Chains and Whips, was pure venom. Every bar was a jab straight at Jim, raw, unapologetic, and cold. Anyone who watched that Tiny Desk and the genius lyric breakdown knows exactly what went down. Pusha didn't smirk, didn't blink. He delivered those lines like he was preaching from the book of Payback.
I will close your heaven for the hell of it. It seems to be valor amongst veterans. I'm watching your fame escape relevance. We all in a room, but here's the elephant. There's no tombstones in the desert. I know by now you get the message. Uncle said, nigga, you must be sick. All you talk about is just get rich. Choke my neck, nigga, and ice my bitch. Beat the system with chain.
Then came that little pause, that devilish grin creeping up on Pusha's face, like he knew he just lit Jim up in front of millions. The way he sunned Jim on that track was surgical. But truth be told, Jim did this to himself. He's the one who started barking up the wrong tree just to defend Drake like some kind of overzealous bodyguard. And now, the fire he lit is burning him alive. This whole mess exploded when Jim Jones decided to start throwing random shots at Pusha T, all because of his little alliance with Drake. Like, come on, this beef wasn't even his fight, but Jim jumped in head first anyway. And let's talk about that brutal bar from Chains and Whips. We all in the room, but here's the elephant. You chasing a feature out of your element? That was cold. Pusha wasn't just rapping, he was violating. That line was a direct hit at Jim, who's been out here practically begging for a Drake feature like his whole career depends on it. And then came the kill shot.
The 5 Pusha T records right now, his records.
Yes.
Name
I love Pusha. Nostalgia.
Oh, you was a Pusha T fan. He's like, I didn't know he had fans like that. Can you name 5 Pusha T records? No, his records.
See, but
no, can you can you rap to 5 Pusha?
I can't rap 5. No,
all right, can you rap to 5? Wait. Can you rap? If 5 Pusha T records, not the records he's featured on, if 5 Pusha T records came on right now, could you rap them?
You could rap 5 Pusha T records?
Yeah. Could you rap 5 Pusha T records right now if they started playing?
What do you mean rap though? Like the hook?
Could you sing them? You're not in my top 50. You might be in Charlemagne's top 50 and things like that. But
top 50.
You haven't done that much for me in my life. Like I didn't never want to be like Pusha. I never had a Pusha moment in my life. I never thought like you did. Like where I'm from, I want to be like you if you was really that dude and that rapper and things
Wayne
like that.
wanted to be like Pusha? He was influenced by Pusha?
Yeah? Okay, cool.
That's why Pusha did the Mr. Me Too record.
Okay, cool. You a very strong Pusha T fan. Nigga, you was nowhere near the top 50. You top 950.
You was nowhere near top 50. You top 950. That one left bruises. Pusha basically told him he's not even in the conversation. It's wild because Jim's been calling Drake the GOAT for years, riding for him like a soldier protecting the throne. At one point, his whole identity became Drake's hype man, and people were clowning him for it. It all got messy when Billboard dropped their top 50 greatest rappers of all time list, with Pusha sitting comfortably at number 29. Jim lost it. He pulled up on the Breakfast Club spitting pure disrespect, saying Pusha didn't even belong in the top 50. And he didn't stop there. On the Rap Caviar podcast, he doubled down, claiming Pusha hadn't done anything major for the culture, but that Chains and Whips line proved otherwise. It clearly hit Jim right where it hurt. Now here's where the story takes a wild twist. Jim fired back with a freestyle, but plot twist, it wasn't new. Turns out he recorded that track 2 years ago. Yeah, before Chains and Whips even dropped. So how did he even get that beat early? Word on the street is, a snippet of the song leaked when Clips performed it during a Louis Vuitton runway show. Jim must have caught wind of it, snatched the beat, and rushed to drop his version the very next day. That's how pressed he was, before the beef even went public. But Jim wasn't done embarrassing himself. After the Tiny Desk performance went viral and everyone crowned Pusha the winner, Jim tried to spin the block again. He hopped on Instagram, reposting that old freestyle with the caption, "I thought we addressed this already. He gonna need a bigger desk, cause that one was too tiny." Then he added, "This is surgical. I'm not a storyteller. I'm a life liver. And your brother is still a friend to me, LOL. Like, really, Jim? The internet was not impressed. Even his own fans started dragging him in the comments. One person said, "You got triggered and smoked so bad, you re-uploaded a diss from last year." Another fan clowned, "He ain't say your name, and you bragging about the enamel on your necklace." The whole comment section turned into a roast session. And Jim, he was looking like the only one who didn't get the joke. Then someone else hit Jim with a brutal comment. Jealousy turns into obsession. "Give it up, man, you reaching." That one stung. And it wasn't just random fans piling on either. Mace and Cameron jumped into the mix, and you already know when those two get involved, things get spicy fast. If you know their long history with Jim, then yeah, this is personal. And they're loving every second of it. Mace couldn't even hide his laughter. He's been waiting for this kind of payback. Because let's be real, this drama goes way back. All the way to their Harlem days. Jim, Mace, and Cam were once like brothers. They came up together in the same blocks, the same struggle, the same early hustle of New York's golden era. They used to move like a squad, straight up children of the corn. But as soon as fame came knocking, everything changed. Back in the mid-1990s, Mace was the first one to blow. He got that golden ticket with Bad Boy Records under Diddy, and overnight he became a superstar. But according to Jim, that's exactly when things started getting weird. He swears that once Mace hit big, he switched up, started acting brand new, especially toward Cameron, the same guy who'd been right there with him from the start. Jim's been saying for years that fame went straight to Mace's head. He even aired it out again earlier this year on Justin LeBoy's Respectfully show, dropping pure shade. Jim said he personally watched Mace badmouth Cameron once he got a little success. And from that moment, Jim said, "I lost all respect for him." Just like that. One minute, they were all brothers, the next enemies. While Mace was out there shining under Diddy's lights, Cameron was still grinding hard in the streets, building his own empire from the ground up. But when Cam finally got his break, he didn't forget his people. He brought Jim with him. That loyalty is what gave birth to Dipset, one of the most legendary movements Harlem ever produced. Cam and Jim built that legacy together, side by side, while Mace was busy living the glamorous life far away from the block that raised him. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. Mace ditched rap altogether. After all that chaos with Diddy, the man disappeared, saying he found God and became a pastor. He traded luxury cars for pulpits, at least for a while. But then, out of nowhere, boom! He popped back up, diving right back into rap like nothing ever happened. And Jim, he wasn't buying it one bit. To him, it looked fake. 1 minute preaching, the next spitting bars again. In Jim's eyes, that made Mace look shaky, inconsistent, and lost in his own image. Jim always had that habit, only showing up when the cameras were rolling. To him, Mace was nothing but flaky, inconsistent, and always chasing clout whenever it suited him. But here's where it gets juicy. Yeah, Mace and Cameron had their own beef back in the day, no denying that. Things between them got ugly for years, but in 2022, they shocked everybody by patching things up and launching their joint sports podcast, It Is What It Is. That reunion? Oh, it hit Jim deep. Word on the street says he was heated about it. Seeing Mace and Cam back together laughing, doing business, and getting love again, that ate Jim alive. Instead of celebrating, he got bitter and started throwing low blows from the sidelines. He even tried to clown Mace's appearance recently, saying he needed to go on a diet. That's when everyone knew Jim was pressed. But come on, Mace and Cam, they don't take shots lying down. They flipped the whole situation on its head and turned the petty all the way up. Their next move was straight savage. They invited none other than Jim's longtime enemy 50 Cent onto their podcast. You can already imagine the chaos that followed. During the episode, Cam couldn't resist. He looked at Mace with that smirk and asked, "So why did Jim randomly pop up at a 50 Cent concert back in 2007 while Dipset and G-Unit were beefing?" Boom, that was the setup, and 50 delivered the dunk. The whole studio erupted in laughter. They basically turned Jim into a punchline in front of millions of viewers, and of course, Jim wasn't gonna stay quiet after that humiliation. He jumped on Justin LeBoy's show and went off. full rant mode. He blasted Cam and 50 for even speaking his name, saying they owed him more than a few favors. He tried to check both of them live on air, but it only made him look more desperate. Then Jim took it up another notch. He started rewriting history. He claimed he was the real mastermind behind Dipset's entire image. According to him, he's the one who inspired Cam's whole aesthetic, even that iconic pink fur coat. Jim said straight up, that legendary look, my idea. But Cam wasn't having that revisionist history for a second. He clapped back hard on the next podcast episode, tearing Jim's story to pieces. He called him out for fabricating his whole Dipset origin tale, and even accused him of lying about being from Harlem. Cam made it loud, clear, and cold. Jimmy wasn't built like that. And just like that, a decades-old bond turned into a battlefield again. Cam didn't hold back. He aired Jim out like laundry. According to him, Jim was never a day one soldier. They weren't in the trenches together, not even close. Cam made it clear. By the time Jim came around, the foundation was already built. Children of the Corn had a name ringing through Harlem streets. And Jim, he was just a spectator, a fan watching from the sidelines. That stung deep. And when Jim tried to flex, claiming he'd seen Mace's son Cameron back in the bad boy days, Cam laughed that off in real time. He said straight up, Jim wasn't even there back then. The truth, according to Cam, Jim was never part of that original circle. He came in after the grind, once the shine had already started. But Cam wasn't done slicing. He dropped a bombshell, revealing that it was actually Mace who taught Jim how to rap in the first place. Yeah, you heard that right. Then just to twist the knife a little deeper, Cam pulled out receipts. Real clips of Jim himself admitting that Mace gave him his first bars. You could almost hear the internet gasp. And honestly, the highlight of that entire episode wasn't even the drama, it was the comedy. Every time the cameras cut to Mace, he was sitting there with this massive bucket of popcorn, cracking up like he was watching a stand-up show. He didn't have to say a word, just his laughter alone said everything. That calm, smug energy drove Jim crazy. So crazy that he snapped online saying, I'll slap that popcorn out of Mace's hand. Like, bro, he really let some popcorn